Good morning, pop culture. We are live. It is Tuesday, October the 9th, 2018. It's 7:51 a.m., and it's time to rock. So today's Good Morning Pop Culture is going to have the same level of fun, but we have to start out with a more serious note: the Stan Lee abuse allegations. Now, obviously, we're going to have to wait till we hit our 200 viewers, but the Stan Lee abuse allegation situation was very sad. There's no humor in any of it. You know, we can laugh at the stupidity of the Star Wars Russian bots and Ryan Johnson's round head and all this other stuff. But when it comes to Stan Lee and his current situation, well, it is sad. So we'll be talking about that because Stan Lee is the godfather of the modern comic book. You know, I'm even the first person to say he gets a little too much credit for the stuff he worked on. But at the end of the day, he is probably the last living man who knows really what happened about the creation of these characters. And even if other creators were alive, we still owe him respect because Stan Lee is a great person. He did a lot of great stuff in terms of the entertainment field with comic books. You know, back in the 70s, while people were back in New York working on books, he was out in Hollywood trying to get them adapted for TV and movies. So Stan Lee really was a trendsetter, a man before his time. Thankfully, he's still alive. But the last few years have been sort of rough. So we're going to talk about that because I found an article that discusses how Stan Lee has come clean. And I just saw somebody drive through their front lawn in a car. And that's not a joke. Sorry to kill the flow of the show. But before we get into that, let's start out with today's life hack. You want to download a YouTube video? Just add SS to the URL between www and YouTube, and it can happen. So also, before we start this morning's show, I'd like to tell everyone that this episode of Good Morning Pop Culture is brought to you by T. Allen Diaz's Lunatic City series. Take a walk on the dark side of the moon with the first installment of this gritty sci-fi noir for just 99 cents. So you see, on World Class Bullshitters, we like to promote independent creators, artists, writers, whatever you may be. We're all about supporting that. So you can contact us to find out more about how you can get on these shows and how we can promote your stuff to thousands of people every day. So that link description. The link will be in the description for this book. Right now, it's actually chat. So here we go. So check that out. So while we're waiting also, excuse me, I only had one cup of coffee this morning. While we're waiting, I'm going to show you guys one more thing. So we always talk about vintage classic heroes making a comeback. You know, one more run, one more time for X, Y, and Z. Well, guess what? We have a first image from Rambo. And it looks pretty damn good. So I figured people care enough about this. So here's the first picture from Rambo 5 that I've seen. Now, I've seen photos of him working out. I've seen videos of him working out as well. But this is the first picture I've seen of Stallone in the role of John Rambo. And I'm excited for this movie. It's funny how these tales of old action stars, you know, going on one more run, have become really important and really relevant in today's pop culture landscape. We have, you know, John Wick, which turned Keanu Reeves into a super action star. I almost called him a super villain, but Keanu Reeves is like the nicest guy in the world. How could you ever consider him a super villain? No, but we had that. We have Stallone doing this. Schwarzenegger tried it, but he's just too old. Maybe the all the weights he lifted back in the day have fried his brain and he can't act anymore. But here's a nice picture of Stallone. And we also have Paz Vega. So she's an actress. She's cool. She was in wait, I was thinking of somebody else. I think she's in a movie called Sex and Lucia. But listen to the cast of this movie, or the plot. A reporter who covers the Mexican drug trade and teams up with Rambo after her youngest half-sister is kidnapped. So that is her plot, her reference to the story. But it sounds kind of interesting. We're going to see Rambo going down to Mexico. So we've seen him all over the world. Why not Mexico? So in the chat, let me know your favorite Rambo flick. Mine's 4. I like the original one. I really do respect First Blood. But man, that fourth Rambo, that was that caught me off guard. It was bloody, it was violent, it was gory, and I had a good time. So we are about 13, now 14 viewers away from starting the main show. So while we're waiting for everybody, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button. We got 187 people here. Let's get 191. Let's get 192 thumbs up. Now, Stallone hasn't been in all great movies. Believe me, I know that firsthand. I mean, Ethan and I had a discussion last week on the High Council that he likes Rocky 5, and I don't. I think Rocky 1, 2, and 3 are the best. 4 is good. I like 4. But number 5 just shits the bed. And then Balboa and Creed bring back the respectability of the Rocky series. I think number 4, like I said to Ethan, you had to be there. You had to live during the Cold War, the political climate. It's a rah-rah, go America film, which is fine. I'm not down on that. But again, kind of had to be there, to appreciate it fully. All right, so it is time to start. So Stan Lee, as I said earlier, the godfather of the modern comic book, the face that we all see in every MCU flick that brings an instant smile to our faces. We all love Stan Lee. I've never heard anyone go out of their way to shit on Stan Lee unless it's some snarky guy at a comic book store saying, well, he really wasn't that great. I'm like, no, Stan Lee does deserve half the credit for a lot of this shit. Maybe sometimes only a third, but still, he was there. He did it. So this news came out today. Now, we've been covering this in the past. And like I said at the beginning of the show, you can't make light of this situation. So it's going to be a little bit somber, excuse me, for a few moments. So if it sounds like, oh, Jeff, you're so depressed and sad, I'm not happy that Stan Lee's had to go through this. You think a guy like Stan Lee, who had accomplished so much, by the time he would get to this age, would just be, riding off into the sunset happy. He's in a Marvel movie 2 or 3 times a year. He gets carted around to conventions. I don't think he wants to be carted around to conventions. Maybe it's time to just do the movies and let him stay home. I'd love to meet Stan Lee. It'll never happen, but that is something I would have liked to have done. But anyway, Stan Lee addresses elder abuse allegation against his daughter. Stan Lee has broken his silence regarding the allegations of elder abuse against his daughter that were made earlier this year. The questions regarding the Marvel creator's estate have circled for years. It wasn't until the April report that the concern became public knowledge. Following the death of his wife, Joni, in 2017, his only remaining immediate family member is his daughter, JC, who, along with former business manager Kia Morgan, former publicist Jerry Olivares, and former road manager Max Anderson, were named in the report for taking advantage of Lee in his old age. Not long after, Lee denied the claims against Morgan, calling them hateful and harmful and totally based on slander. However, things shifted, and in the months that followed, Morgan was arrested for filing a false police report. Furthermore, Lee was granted a restraining order against Morgan. In addition to the accusations of fraud, abuse, and embezzlement against Morgan, the ex-business manager also is responsible for accusing JC of physically assaulting her father. When asked whether he was aware of the allegations made against JC, including potential future stories in the works, Lee joked to the Daily Beast, "I wish that everyone would be as abusive to me as JC." He then changed his tone, responding, "Seriously, that she is a wonderful, and though they have occasional spats, there's nothing to the allegations." JC's lawyer, Kirk Schneck, further described their relationship, describing it as Kennedy-esque. He props her up, describing her as the Avenger, the person who protects that man. JC vehemently denies any physical violence, but does recognize that she has raised her voice at him, blaming it mostly on the situation involving who she describes as horrible people who want to divide and conquer. She also insinuates that Morgan and possibly Anderson were involved in Scientology. For Lee, the interview seemed to confuse him at times. He states that JC has been friends with Kirk for 30 or 40 years, but she maintains it's only been a few years. On the tape in which Lee defended Morgan, he pointed fingers at Schneck, saying he was responsible for supplying her with drugs. In response to being asked about this, Lee replied that he must have been talking about someone else. In addition to the heavy issues addressed in the interview, Lee had the opportunity to comment on a preferred subject, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Lee states that his favorite superhero adaptation is Spider-Man, and comments on the increased diversity in changing times, calling himself Mr. Reboot, and noting that he wants to represent everyone, jokingly including green people, and a nod to the Hulk. And though he will no longer be making public appearances at conventions, Lee did express how much he misses the writing side of his former job. Hopefully, as long as he is able, his current support system will allow him to continue to be creative in whatever ways he can. So that came from the Daily Beast initially. Now, for me, I look at this as many different things. First off, Stan Lee's getting old. My grandma's about the same age as Stan Lee. Obviously, she hasn't achieved as much. She's only responsible for, having my mom who's having me, who, has this great channel, so that's important. But in all seriousness, old people like Stan Lee, like my grandma, sometimes get confused. I've been called 15 different names and stuff like that. So part of these, I'm sure, come from age, but some of these are probably based in truth as well, and it's scary. You never want to see anyone get abused at any age. It's never fun. It's never a thing that should be a thing that people should go through in their life. So I do have sympathy for Stan Lee. I have sympathy for all elder abuse. It's not just because Stan Lee created Spider-Man with Steve Ditko, who, is hanging up on my wall over a Star Wars clock, stuff like that. Stan Lee doesn't get a pass just because of what he's done. He just gets the same treatment any person in the same situation would get. But, this interview doesn't necessarily seem overly fake to me. It just, I don't know, with such a confusion that there was earlier this year, I don't really know how to put my finger on it exactly. A lot of times I'm pretty good at taking a situation, assessing it, and thinking, but maybe there's a part of me that doesn't want to believe Stan Lee's gone through some shit. So when I hear it, I'm just like, oh, okay, good. It's just a bad accusation. But there are people who do try to take advantage of celebrities, old, young, whatever, because they want their money, they want their fame, the status, they want to just ride the coattails. And that kind of shit is terrible. So poor old Stan Lee has now been dragged into this. Even if it's just, confusion, this type of situation is now associated with his name. And I do love, on a lighter note, I do love how he brings up Spider-Man, his greatest creation. Jared Ricewood, thank you very much for your super chat. Good morning, Jeff. Someone close to me went through something similar to this. I appreciate you taking this seriously. It shouldn't be taken lightly. Jared Ricewood, thank you very much and good morning. Yeah, it shouldn't be taken lightly. I try to put myself in the situation. What if this was my grandma? And then I think, oh God, I'd be pissed off. Probably a lot more pissed off because she's my grandma. But Stan Lee, it's rough. And it's kind of sad to watch someone deteriorate and wither away. They talk about rock stars who just burn out, and you remember Bon Scott at whatever he was, 29 years old, or you remember Cobain at 27 and Hendrix and all these people, and their images are just plastered all over from them at a certain period in their life, 27 years old. Then somebody like Stan Lee, who achieved a lot. In many ways, Stan Lee has achieved more than all these rock stars because though he's not out performing as Spider-Man or the Hulk or any of these other characters that he co-created, his creations have a much broader appeal, a much wider audience than all those musicians. And I know that sounds crazy, but the Avengers, the Marvel Cinematic Universe films have made close to $20 billion. I mean, they are the biggest thing right now in entertainment. I fail to see how people could never understand the importance of his work to just modern entertainment, modern myth. Like Stan Lee's partially responsible for the modern myth. And you don't really want to remember him as like the old guy who's in a wheelchair who can barely talk and all that stuff, and they're carting him around because they can make money. I'd like to remember Stan Lee as the voice of the old Spider-Man cartoon, or the voice of the Hulk, or his appearance on the Spider-Man 94 cartoon where Spider-Man literally swings him around the city, stuff like that. So that's one of the situations. That's one of the reasons why I don't try to take anything lightly, or just don't want to tread on it for too long, because it is depressing. Let's see. Chano Cyber 9 Avila says, I wish I can give Stan Lee my youth. Chano Cyber 9 Avila, I wish we could all meet Stan Lee. I don't know. I mean, he's had a good life. And let's take this into account, too. A lot of people who are married for very long times and then lose a spouse seem to kind of go shortly after. I honestly thought Stan Lee wouldn't have made it through the end of 2017. And I wasn't trying to be funny. I just thought, oh, well, he his wife is dead, and a lot of times the significant other, once the wife dies or the husband dies, they kind of go short. Like Debbie Reynolds, she died the next day after Carrie Fisher. And I know they're not a significant other, but I heard she was so distraught over it that, she didn't make it but a few more hours. There are all kinds of cases from that. But Stan Lee's the man. I wish there was a way to record his voice into a computer and they could make it say anything so Stan Lee could narrate forever. Because he has one of the best voices ever. Even at his old age, he still sounds good. I just couldn't. Man, Stan Lee narrates your life. That would be incredible. Anyone out there that can impersonate Stan Lee, let me know. I got a job for you. So good morning to everyone that's here. The Stan Lee elder abuse allegations, well, it doesn't look like it's as serious as we once thought. Hopefully, it's not as serious as we once thought. But this article was new from Screen Rant, and because we like to cover geek culture, and Stan Lee is the granddaddy of all geek culture, I figure we owe him at least a little bit of our time this morning to cover the situation. Now, I want to talk about something happier, so we will. So what do I got next on the docket today? Okay, so this is good news for me. Now, some people can read into this more. This is a very SJW topic, but, against it. Yeah, Stan Lee should replace Siri. But check this out. So this made me happy. Now, this news came out the other day. I didn't have a chance to talk about it yesterday because we got off into a tangent. But the James Bond producer doesn't think the role will ever be played by a woman. Thank God. Now, this article is Joe Blow is kind of titling it nicely because it's not what she says. Now, seemingly, you know what? I'm not even going to read that. I'm just going to read you the direct quote from Barbara Broccoli. And this is what she had to say. Bond is male. He is a male character. He was written as a male, and I think he'll probably stay a male. And that's fine. We don't have to turn male characters into women. Let's just create more female characters and make the story fit those female characters. Oh my God. So this was refreshing to hear because we live in a time where every goddamn producer, every goddamn director, everybody's got some shit to say. Well, why couldn't they be a woman? Why couldn't they be this? Because it's an established franchise with a character who's been a male. When Steven Spielberg wakes up a woman tomorrow, then Indiana Jones can be a woman in the film. But until then, that ain't happening. And if they're going to try to say, well, he's got a daughter, like, are you trying to make Indiana Jones a deadbeat because he ran out on his son or didn't know about his son? And now he's going to have a daughter that he didn't know about? It's just too confusing. This whole trying to pass off the whip and hat to the next generation and all that crap is dumb. But this came from the horse's mouth, Barbara Broccoli, co-producer who inherited the franchise from her father, Cubby Broccoli, who, with Harry Saltzman, purchased the rights to Ian Fleming's novels back in 1959. Dr. No came out in 1962. I don't know exactly when they purchased the rights, but let's just say 1960-61 to be safe. But now, Barbara Broccoli is not the only woman to say that about James Bond. So Rachel Weisz, who is the wife of Daniel Craig, had this to say. Ian Fleming devoted an awful lot of time to writing this particular character who is particularly male and relates in a particular way to women. Why not create your own story rather than jumping on the shoulders and being compared to all these other male predecessors? Women are really fascinating and interesting and should get their own stories. See, I'm with her. I'm with Rachel Weisz. I'm with Barbara Broccoli. They get it. Yeah, they're associated with the Bond franchise, but they understand, basically from a business standpoint, it's career suicide. Like Doctor Who, we'll talk about that too. I wasn't going to bring that up. But I find it convenient that both Doctor Who and Star Wars Resistance are getting amazing reviews in the face of adversity from the fans. And I don't think it's because there are these great stories and these great shows. I honestly think it's so they can try to antagonize the fandom menace or the people they think are angry online. I mean, these shows aren't supposed to get 100% perfect scores just because of representation and ideas of what they're supposed to be. No, this kind of stuff angers me. I'm not really happy to support those things. But that is just a nice, refreshing thing to me. It doesn't say anything about Idris Elba, but Idris Elba himself has said he doesn't want to be James Bond. So 2018 has given us two confirmations from the James Bond camp. Bond is a man, and Idris Elba doesn't want to play the role. So thankfully, we have, I can't believe I'm saying this, but thankfully we have about 2 more years of Daniel Craig as 007. And hopefully the whole world will change and they'll get their head out of their asses and they won't Johnson the James Bond franchise in the future. Believe me, I care. I care big time. But it is refreshing. It is making me happy. By the way, folks, we got 361 viewers. Let's get those thumbs up. 365, please, if you will. And I'm glad everyone in the chat's excited about this news. I, too, it's nice to hear some sane rationalization coming from people in the entertainment business in Hollywood. Well, Barbara Broccoli and Dan Jack, I believe, are UK-based. I know she's American, as well as Michael G. Wilson, but they consider James Bond the great British hero, and it's a UK property at the end of the day. But I don't like the idea of 2017, 2018 politics changing these characters. Last night I was on my way to Target to pick up something, and I had the idea, down the road, maybe I'll do a throwback 60s spy comic book, because Stealing Souls inspired me. I'm thinking to myself, man, I got so many opportunities now. I can keep doing these comic books. They don't even have to be one long storyline. You can just pick up any issue and get a whole complete story. And that kind of excited me, because I told you guys my dream was to do a James Bond story in the style of Johnny Quest artwork. But I thought, that probably won't happen because I won't be able to get the license for that. But I can do my own spy story in the likeness of Johnny Quest artwork and have a lot of fun with that. So that'll be coming down the road. But that was inspired by the Mission Impossible theme that played on my phone yesterday. We had a super chat for our friend Chano Cyber9 Avila. Thank you very much. Best female character, Ellen Ripley, Sarah Connor. Best female characters, Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor. Chano Cyber9 Avila, I would like to throw Princess Leia in there. I know that I always talk about Princess Leia, but I do respect the character. Actually, love the character. She's one of my all-time favorites. Last night I bit the bullet and picked up the Target exclusive Princess Leia. Why? Because it looks great, and it's Princess Leia. At the end of the day, it's not about, they don't really milk her legacy, because they make action figures based on dead actors all the time. I mean, there are lots of Grand Moff Tarkin figures. There are still Count Dooku figures and stuff like that. So I don't really consider this grave standing, but Princess Leia is my favorite. Why? Because she's funny and she's cool. Ripley is good. Sarah Connor is mentally unstable. She's more complex than Princess Leia, but for what they are, I like Princess Leia the best. Now, I think Ripley could beat Sarah Connor in a fight. I think Sarah Connor's slightly overrated, because all the big crazy shit the Terminator does, and she just kind of turns the gun and shoots. Ripley goes into the fight herself and comes out, get away from me, you bitch. She gets in the power loader, all that stuff. So I have more respect for Ellen Ripley than Sarah Connor. That's just me, though. Jordan Shrimp, thank you very much for your super chat. I would watch a woman spy in the Bond universe, but don't make her the new James Bond. And passing down the torch would be bad if the old generation, or wouldn't be bad if the old generation is respected. I just, excuse me, I don't think you need to pass the torch down in terms of like an Indiana Jones or a Han Solo or something like that. Why not just let him go away? You never needed a 4th Indiana Jones. Like Back to the Future is one of the last series that ended on a high note, that doesn't get a sequel, that doesn't need a sequel. Back to the Future is done. I don't think there needs to be Marty McFly's son and daughter meet Doc Brown's grandson, and they go on another whirlwind adventure through time. You see, that's the kind of stuff I don't like. Those kind of characters, James Bond, okay, those kind of characters are one and done. The story's over. Now, James Bond is an evergreen character, like a superhero. A new actor can come in and play him and put him in new situations over time, but you got to look and act the part. I don't want a green-skinned Wolverine, and I don't want any other race of James Bond besides an old white or a middle-aged white British dude with preferably dark hair. I don't even like Daniel Craig that much. But I'm trying to think of a character about passing down the torch that I buy into. They did it poorly with Star Wars. They have passed on the torch to a generation of unqualified heroes. Rey has nothing to do with her gender. She's a terrible character. Not interesting at all. Kylo Ren, the next generation's all weak and cucked out. Kylo Ren, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. All you're going to do is bitch and tear up an elevator. I can go do that at the mall. Does that make me intimidating? I am more intimidating than Adam Driver, but my point is, there's nothing good that they're doing in the next generation. I think that's why they keep milking the old shit, because they're either too lazy and want to make a quick buck, or they just don't know what they're doing. I mean, they have to go look at Hasbro for a moment. I got a big Star Wars video. You're probably wondering, Jeff, where's the Russian bot video? I'm actually taking that, and I might be doing a 30-minute video, kind of like a Mauler video, about Star Wars. It's really important to cover all of my bases, and to really jump out and just keep putting out little snippets here and there is great. But the last couple of weeks have been really important. So I kind of need to go in depth in one big video. It's not going to be 30 minutes of the Dr. Morton Bay bug video, but it's going to be something similar to that. But to jump back to your point, these companies that invest in the future half-assedly and then jump back to, well, we're going to milk the old nostalgic shit, like the Star Wars toys we showed yesterday. They got 4 of the 12 or 15 they showed, 4 of them were from the new movies. 1 was from The Last Jedi, and then the rest were from the original trilogy. Like Yak Face will sell more action figures than Captain Phasma. I'm just putting that out there. So the old gen should always be respected, but at the same time, why not create something new? John Wick is a new character. He's played by an older actor, Keanu Reeves, but that franchise is like 6 years old, 4 years old maybe. I may be wrong. So you still have it in you, Hollywood, to create new franchises. But I also, to one more thing, Jordan, to jump off your point, I would watch a James Bond flick with him having another female spy sidekick, because we've had that in 1977 called The Spy Who Loved Me. And Anya Amasova, Agent XXX, was capable. She bested James Bond a couple times. But it was nice, too, because when she made a mistake, he made fun of her. And nowadays, in today's political climate, they would say it's sexist when he makes fun of her for driving the way she did. So there's already been that female Bond, agent. Hell, the book is half about her. And, again, SJW people out there, you don't get to have these firsts, because these things have already been achieved. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for playing. But Jordan Shrimp, thank you very much. Cesario Japan says, looking into Broccoli's words, she'll never specify Ian Fleming's commissioned artwork of James Bond, who is a white British male. It's telling, in my opinion. I think it's telling, but I think at the same time, James Bond takes so long to produce each movie. By the time Daniel Craig is over, we'll probably be through this weird, odd politicization. I can't say politicization too well. If you ever want to hear me slip up on a super chat, put the word politicization in there, or if I'm saying it right now. Anyway, my point is, they're making Bond overly political now, but by the time they get through the next movie, so that would make 25, so when they get to Bond 26, if he's not dead, I feel personally we'll be over this thing. And Henry Cavill seems like a good choice, because these are business decisions. Now, her dad was very old school. He's a old school Italian guy from New York. I'm not saying he had connections to any kind of families. All I'm saying, he's old school business, old school Hollywood, shrewd, money comes first. I would believe that Lucasfilm would throw profits away for agenda-driven points and all that stuff. But I don't believe it would come from Dan Jack, Eon Productions, all that stuff. But I have seen that commissioned artwork of James Bond, and I always go for that. It's funny how people say, well, it never says what he looks like. Actually, it does. It really, really does. I'm so tired of people saying, well, they never describe it. No, they describe it. They describe what James Bond looks like. Ian Fleming does, and there's an image, a very famous image. I'm trying to find it for you right now since you brought it up. Here it is right here. Ian Fleming had this picture of James Bond commissioned. So this is what James Bond is supposed to look like according to Ian Fleming. And I like it. I think this should be the litmus test for what James Bond looks like in the film. There you go, right there. So he looks a lot like a young Peter Cushing. Look at that hairline. But a lot of people don't know Bond has a scar over his eye, his right eye. They draw it in some of the comic books, the Mike Grell books, but they don't put it in any of the films. So I just think they need to get off of the whole inclusion thing with Bond and just let it go. Why Bond? Why not You got Gina, you got Trudy. Miami Vice was doing this shit, and it wasn't even trying to be inclusive. It was just a great show that happened to be accidentally diverse and feature people from different walks of life in different hero roles or villain roles. So it was a pretty awesome show. The only reason I brought it up is because last night I found a vinyl figure of Crockett in Tubs at my local Target, and I kind of got excited. I also bought something that I can't believe I'm going to tell you guys. They had a Coming to America pop vinyl, so I only bought it in support and hope that they make Axel Foley one day. But that is the James Bond arc. I'll read these few super chats, and then we'll go to the next segment. Samuel Aragon says, Skyfall was about Bond versus today's politics. Even all the way back to GoldenEye was clear there were questions whether he's needed. Yes, you're talking about the line, you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur relic of the Cold War. I remember that line very well. But I feel that if you watch the Brosnan ones, they definitely answer the question, yes, we need you. Because she says about, don't think I don't have any compunction to send a man out to die, but then she goes, Bond, come back in one piece. Then we get to Tomorrow Never Dies, and she has all the faith in the world in him. You know, what's he doing? His job. Then in The World Is Not Enough, he comes back to save her and all this stuff. Now, she does throw him under the bridge, or under the bus in Die Another Day, but that's okay because, you know, that's what you do. You disavow the spy. You were traded for the government agent, blah, blah, blah. So I get that. But I think the producers have answered the question many times. James Bond can function in today's world. The people that question that constantly aren't really the ones that are going to go see the movie. Bond is an institution, much like Superman, much like Batman, all these characters. You know, they're kind of evergreen. You just wait a little bit and make a new one, and people will go back because people grew up on this shit. Bond is the oldest running franchise right now. You know, Star Wars has been out since 77. Well, Bond was out in 62. And Bond had toys and all this other shit before Star Wars was even a glimmer in George Lucas's eye. But thank you, Samuel, very much. That you make a good point, too, about Bond's in today's politics. I would love for them to kind of go head on with Bond's politics and maybe, just maybe, make fun of him a little bit. And on your point about Skyfall, I liked Skyfall quite a bit, but I didn't like the M-mommy relationship that they built between Daniel Craig's Bond and her. So I was very happy to watch her die. Just putting that out there. Let's see. Do we have another one? Yeah, we had Cesario Japan. Thank you very much again, my friend. Barbara Broccoli, your female spy that you asked for is in the anime. It's called 009-1. It's Nijika Blitz Tactics. Japan says you're welcome. Well, yeah, I don't know those characters, but the Japanese have much better female characters and spies and action stars and all of this stuff in the anime and the manga series than we do in America. Hell, I would rather watch a comic or a movie about Bulma from Dragon Ball Z than I would Captain Marvel, because at least Bulma's somewhat interesting for all the wrong reasons, but she's still kind of funny. No, I do. The thing is, if I were to say, oh man, I wish we'd get more stuff like that, I'd be afraid we're going to get another Ghost in the Shell, which I don't think was bad, but it wasn't exciting enough for me to buy it or ever watch it again or even think about it. I didn't even go out and try to watch the anime of it. It was good enough for the $2. Oh, that's not true. I paid like $7 to go see it on a matinee, and that was it. And that was just a one-and-done thing. I don't even remember most of it besides Scarlett Johansson looked kind of good, and the guy that had the fake robotic eyeballs looked kind of cool. I liked that character quite a bit. I couldn't tell you the plot. I'm going to guess that it was something to do about robots wanting to become human, because every goddamn story out there is about that. I mean, I like Blade Runner enough to respect all of what it's done, but that story has been told for decades. It's told in the Twilight Zone. It's told in comic books from the 50s. It's just told, what does it mean to be human? A sentient robot searching to be man, all this stuff. I mean, I've seen it before. It doesn't take away from Blade Runner's accomplishments. I just, I don't know. It's a story trope that I'm not excited about seeing again. So let's see. Oh, wow. Okay, this chat is way far back. All right, folks, so let's talk about something fun as well. So we're talking about Sony Pictures. Sony used to be the people that released the Bond flicks. So put your coffee down, because this is a funny segment. We're going to read you a few of the most brutal Venom scores on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, I haven't read these, so if I start laughing mid-sentence, please don't hold it against me. So let's find out some of these mean ones. So this one comes from The Wrap. Venom is the kind of comic book movie that people who hate comic book movies think that all comic book movies are like. Leaping from plot point to plot point without the hindrance of logic or characters, this big screen return to the legendary Spider-Man nemesis, last seen in the franchise hobbling to Spider-Man 3, is aggressively loud and stupid without being much fun at all. It exists as a waste of time, although one hopes a sizable payday for some very talented actors, and it's proof that even Marvel, whether it's the studio or even the films based on its imprint, doesn't always get it right. Now, I bring this up because there seems to be a little bit of a crusade against Venom. Now, hear me out. Let's play conspiracy theory for just a moment. It's October, okay? We're doing our horror. We're doing our spooky stuff. What if these people, they weren't paid. I'm not going to make any accusations, but what if they think this is what Disney wants? They want people to ignore this flick so people only pay attention to MCU proper films. Just throwing that out there. Not saying that is the case. I'm just saying, what if? Now, this is what The Guardian says. The supposedly massive final showdown is so anticlimactic and pointless that it was only when it was followed by Hardy's ruminatively sipping coffee in a shop and chatting that I realized that was it. That was the big finish. Hardy himself has said that the film's best 30 to 40 minutes have been cut. At least that makes this shorter than it would have been otherwise. Oh, Den of Geek says the script by 3 credited writers plays out like a Marvel movie that might have been made in '96 with no nuance, no character development, and a chunky, on-the-nose style of advancing its plot, and it seems hopelessly juvenile and antiquated. The scenes in which Eddie and Venom, blah, 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 I don't care anymore. Look, you know what? I wanted to ask you guys, what did you think? A lot of people are coming out of the woodwork to tell me they love Venom. I want to know, what do you think? Okay, so people are saying it's shit. People are saying it's shit. It did top the box office. So I guess it's not working. It's really not working. A lot of people out there have told me, go see it for yourself. And I do advocate go see it for yourself. Either way. But the discrepancy isn't getting reported on like The Last Jedi. Why? Because it doesn't fit into the narrative. Chris Mickick, thank you very much for your super chat. Saw Venom tonight was funny and good. Saw Venom tonight was funny and a good movie. Final fight scene was over-edited, though. That's what I'm worried about. I picked up a Marvel Legends figure yesterday, and I thought to myself, man, I really, really want to just be super pumped about this stuff because this is the world I dreamed about living in as a kid. A superhero movie in theaters all the time, video games, toys, all of it good too. I mean, I grew up in the 90s, so our video games were Super Nintendo era, and that's fine. I'm not shitting on the Super Nintendo. One of the best systems, maybe the best system of all time. But they were limited 2D side scrollers, some fighting, some platformer, but overall fun, but nothing of the grand scope of the new Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2 for the Xbox. It's just, you'd think that 5-year-old Jeff, well, I've been 93, I was only in the Power Rangers. Let's go with 7 or 8-year-old Jeff would have been freaking out about all this stuff. And 29-year-old Jeff isn't cynical, but only certain things are working. I think corporate politics and behind the scenes, backroom dealings have hurt Marvel movies in the long run because there was that really powerful image of all the Avengers playing together in front of a green screen, and a lawyer had Spider-Man on a baby leash, and Spider-Man looked sad. That picture epitomized Marvel movies for the longest time, and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four weren't seen at all. So I do look forward to the day that young Jeff imagined the halcyon days of all Marvel movies, being one thing, being good, being awesome. Thank you, Orbital Layer, for picking up your copy of Stealing Solo. Where are we at? Just out of curiosity, since you picked up one, I just like to see where the numbers are. We're in our final 12 days, folks, by the way. So if anyone out there is considering it, we only need to get. Okay, we have 890 backers for a whopping total of $35,652. So if you're out there and you haven't picked up your copy, join Orbital Layer and the hundreds of other people. Let's hopefully get it to 1,000. I think we can get if we can get 10 more backers today, that'll take us to 900 backers. And then in the final week or so, get another 100 or something like that. 1,000 backers is doable. That'll be exciting to ship out 1,000 of these things. They're going out a whole new door. But I'm seeing a lot of love for I see Midnight's Edge said if Venom was a success, Sony will pull Spider-Man from the MCU. Ooh. Okay. Can I play asshole devil's advocate for a moment, please? I would love if Spider-Man got pulled from the MCU. Now I think you're thinking, Jeff, you like the MCU, you like Spider-Man. What the hell are you doing, man? I like Tom Holland. I don't like Spider-Man Homecoming. I like Spider-Man in the Avengers and Civil War. Don't like Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't think Spider-Man needs to be a pillar of the MCU. He was fine. The MCU was better before he arrived. Yes, Civil War was great for me, and I loved Infinity War, and Spider-Man was a big part of that. But I think the more adult-themed, MCU worked better without Spider-Man. So I'm laughing at the fact that maybe that's the case. I didn't know Midnight's Edge said that. I haven't watched any of their videos in quite a while. I'm not necessarily... Their videos come out at times when I don't have time to watch them. I haven't even watched a Geeks and Gamers video, and I usually try to put those at the top of my list because I always love to hear Jeremy go, video. Well, you know how it goes. Real quick, let's give a shout out to Jeremy. There's a big hurricane heading towards his way, so let's make sure he gets home safely and his family's safe and everything like that. So just show a little love to Jeremy today. Tom Holland could be my pillar. I don't know if you want a guy like Tom Holland to be your pillar. He's kind of a short guy. But if that's the case with Spider-Man going back to Sony, oh my God, part of me is just angry a little bit at Marvel's possibly going woke thing. And if it falls apart for them after Captain Marvel, it's bad for us because I may be taking a little bit of schadenfreude, some pleasure out of this, but then they'll kind of double down on Captain Marvel type characters, and then we won't have any of the classic fun ones. So maybe I shouldn't laugh too hard about that situation. Maybe I should kind of pull back a bit and think, oh God, what if that happens? We're fucked. When isn't there a hurricane coming at Jeremy? Yeah, good question. Good question. But yeah, folks, let's shoot for 110 more backers, and then I'll consider Stealing Solo a massive success. 1,000 copies. Then we can look at the list of what books we've beaten. And I'm going to do a special stream for Stealing Solo soon, because yesterday I showed you guys anthology artwork a little bit, and it was fun to talk about that story. And I was telling my mom, she goes, "Ooh, I hope you get to tell that story. It's a good one. I like Senator Joel Hastings." And I'm like, I do too. I like property U.S. government the best. After Stealing Solo, that's my favorite story I've ever worked on. It was just so much fun. But just for a moment, let's take a quick detour because we have a movie legend we'll talk about today in a moment. Movie legends are fun. But first, we have a super chat from our friend GrendelFan84 from Comics Elite. So GrendelFan84, thank you very much. He has to say, the only good scene in Spider-Man Homecoming, Michael Keaton's /Vulture chat to Peter in the car. Awesome tension with an awesome threat. Yeah, dude, I didn't even see that one coming. Like, I know I'm kind of down on the film, but I did not see that scene at all. I was like, coming. I was like, oh man, that's kind of cool. That's kind of tense. I was like, oh shit. So that got me. That was the best part of the movie. Now, I get that the tone's supposed to be lighthearted and fun and all this other shit, but I think they just lost the core of Spider-Man, and that was a little closer to where I thought the character should be. Now, I don't like how everyone knows a secret identity, but for the sake of that movie and that scene, I'm into it. I'm interested to see where Toomes comes back in the future, because I know they keep saying Sinister Six, Sinister Six. Well, let's see the Sinister Six. I don't think we're going to see Sandman ever again in a movie. The Spider-Man 3, well, no, I take that back. We've just seen Venom in his own movie, so maybe Sandman can pop up. Spider-Man 3 was bad, but there were worse Spider-Man flicks, a.k.a. The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Jamie Foxx Electro, a.k.a. Jim Carrey the Riddler circa 95, yet it came out in the year 2014. That's all I can say about that. Now, I'm not against seeing Venom. For those out there that are like, you should see it, I'm not down on it. One, I really don't have the time. Like, realistically, I could get off the air and go see it for Bargain Tuesday. Or I could go get the P.O. box that I talked about yesterday, and we could do that instead. And I think, the P.O. box is a little more important than going to see Venom. Don't you guys? And as soon as I get that tomorrow morning on Good Morning Pop Culture, I will announce the P.O. box address, and you guys can start sending stuff to us. And we'll do, if we get a lot, we'll do weekly videos where it's like, hey, what was sent today? Or if I get a lot, we'll make it a daily segment on Good Morning Pop Culture. And this, the P.O. box segment of the morning is, and then I'll turn on the camera and show it and give a thanks to everyone. And, the power is in your hands, guys. The ball's in your court. Make it so. Make it so. So we brought up Venom. Venom was created by Todd McFarlane and David Michelinie. Now, Todd McFarlane went off to be a rock star in the comic book industry and in the toy industry, which is where I respect him the most. But Todd McFarlane wants everyone to know that the Spawn movie is seriously scary. So this is a quote from Todd McFarlane. Here's what I'm trying to get Hollywood to understand. Well, do I do the Todd McFarlane voice? Because he talks like this. Well, no. I like Todd McFarlane too much to make fun of him. Here's what I'm trying to do, or I'm trying to get Hollywood to understand, because they still don't quite get what it is. I want to do it dead serious. A scary movie that happens to be a superhero, right? And so they keep tripping under the superhero part. And I wish I could almost take that piece of the story out. I, too, would like to see a very scary Spawn flick. Press 1 if you've ever read a Spawn comic or if you know who Spawn is. Spawn is a very dated relic of the 90s, but that doesn't mean he's still not relevant. I'd say Spawn and Deadpool are the two most recent comic book characters that you could call classics. I know people want to try to throw out the new... Well, there really aren't any new ones from Marvel. Maybe Spider-Gwen is popular enough to get her own toy and statue. Not knocking that. But she's never reached the levels of Deadpool and Spawn. Even back when Spawn was new, Spawn was one of the hottest properties. It was like Spawn and Wolverine, and then Spider-Man. I mean, DC couldn't get a character to be as cool as Spawn or Spider-Man or Wolverine. They were desperate. I mean, that's why Superman had a mullet. That's why Batman had his back broken. All this shit. DC was trying to play catch up. Yeah, they killed off Superman and did some stuff, and it was okay. But man, Spawn was just cool. All the Image books were cool. Even Eric Larson's Savage Dragon was cool. McFarlane has been able to keep a lot of that goodwill over the decades. And Spawn, has had TV shows from HBO, a new movie supposed to come out with Jamie Foxx. A horror-based Spawn is kind of exciting. I'm hoping that it's gory and gothic and dark and spooky and all these other words, these adjectives to describe the film. I just want to be entertained for 2 hours, and I don't want the same old bullshit. I want something I've never seen before. And Spawn really needs to reclaim its name. There's no, what should I say? The character isn't remembered in the public eye as fondly as I'm hoping it is. So, Todd, this is your big chance, buddy. The Pui, thank you very much for your super chat, my friend. Good morning, John. Good morning, The Pui. Let's see. Will Stealing Skywalker be the solo or the sequel to my comic book? No, there will not be a. Well, we'll see how this goes. If every subscriber bought a copy of this comic, yes, Stealing Skywalker would be out by June. I would rush it out. So you guys will get this in the mail in February, then the next one would be out in June. Shit, if it got really big, if it passed Cyberfrog the next 12 days, Stealing Skywalker and whatever Carrie Fisher went are free. I'll send them to you guys when I'm done with them. But, got to tell everybody. Got to tell everybody. Claustoric says, P.O. Box? Let's send all the pops. Well, thank you, Claustoric. If you send, if I get a mountain of Funko Pops, I think I'll just build a bouncy house out of them and then just burn them. I'm just kidding. Whatever you guys send me, I will make videos out of it, and I appreciate it. Even if it's something dumb, I will still tell you guys thank you for taking the time to think of us. But if it's like Rose Tico figures, I'll give them to Ethan in person. Magic Bullock says Lena and Dion sitting in a tree. Fapping. Ugh. Can we keep the horse talk to a minimum on this show, please? I mean, this is Good Morning Pop Culture. This is a little more respectable. People are at work, working and lurking. Do you think they need to hear about that Lena Dunham garbage talk? No. You keep that shit in the barnyard. You keep Dion's name. You can associate Dion's name with it. Ain't that good anymore. I mean, he loves his little pudgy dough ball lady. Have her, Dion. Have her, man. It's not like you married a much better looking woman already, but hey, you want your Lena Dunham fix. Go for it. Go for it. Yeah, too bad Eric Larson did go full SJW. I used to follow him on Facebook. I stopped. I don't really need your politics, Eric. I just want to look at you draw pictures of Spider-Man because McFarlane did great stuff. Larson followed up McFarlane and had really great stuff too. But I don't really need his politics. That's not what I care about. You know, I'm not friends with people based on their political affiliation. I'm friends with people based on our, mutual interest. If they have different politics, that's not a problem. Believe me, it's not a problem. But if you're a celebrity that I'm following or, a famous artist, I don't follow you for the things that don't make you famous. Like, I don't follow The Rock on social media personally because he's not posting about wrestling, so I don't care. If he was a wrestler full-time, I'd be following him on social media. Shit, I'd probably make videos about, well, The Rock did this today. But he's not, so I don't. Thank you very much, Thunder Robots. I appreciate it. Good morning, horse culture. God damn it. So, let's see what else we had on the docket for today. I actually had quite a few things. I found that yesterday the show was much more structured and much more successful. Everyone stuck around. We had a lot of fun. So I made sure to do that today. But I want to talk about something for a moment. This is spooky. This is scary. This is different because last week we did our Halloween stream. We did our movie myths, the horrible movie curses, and we had a lot of fun. People have come out to tell us how good it was, how great it was. We appreciated the feedback. So in the spirit of Halloween, which is only a few short days away, it's never close enough to Halloween if you ask me. October 30th isn't close enough for Halloween to me. It needs to be the 31st all the time because I love Halloween. I mean, it's like the only time of year where I'm thinking, cosplay is kind of cool. Well, no, I like the spooky, the horror, the macabre element. And let me just read the super chat and we'll get into that. So our friend Andy Goss says, Spider-Man Ultimate Universe sucks and Miles Morales doesn't do it for me. Not going to see the film. Spawn and Blade kick butt. Well, Andy, I, too, do not like Miles Morales or Ultimate Spider-Verse shit. For me, it's too confusing. It's too muddled. Spider-Man was a very depowered, everyman hero. I don't care what color your skin was. You could relate to Spider-Man and Peter Parker's, the plight of Peter Parker, if you will. I think once they made him go Tony Stark is when I truly lost respect for the character. I'm just not even a fan anymore. And that's coming from, seriously, I dedicated years of my life to try to draw Spider-Man professionally. I will definitely not go see Into the Spider-Verse. I mean, unless it would be voiced by Peter Parker or Tobey Maguire himself, and Sam Raimi would direct certain elements of it, I'm not going to go support it. I'm not living in the past. I can go see new Spider-Man stuff, but I don't like this element of the character. I know they're trying to be more diverse and have Spider-Gwen and Miles Morales and all this shit. We'll give Miles Morales his own title so we can have, our Black Spider-Man and our main Spider-Man and this and that, and we can get all the points online. It isn't about black or white, guys. It's about the fact that there's one Spider-Man. It's Peter Parker. There's one Batman, Bruce Wayne. One Superman, Kal-El, or Clark, depending on what you want to claim him as. I don't want multiple versions of anything. I don't want the younger Wonder Woman, what's her name, Donna Troy. Don't want her in a movie either. Just stop with all these different versions, these iterations, these derivatives of these main heroes. It's not too hard to just make new characters. I guess it is. I don't do that shit. Opinions on the new Harley Quinn show, I will not be watching it. I saw Penny from the Big Bang Theory's voice. I heard it, excuse me. And then I just, I lost interest, man. I lost interest. If The Rock was following me on social media, I would be honored. It's funny thing is, for as much as I like The Rock, I don't necessarily have this urge to hang out with him and be friends. I'd like to meet him once. And if he's cool, continue the conversation. But I don't know how much we'd have an interest. And that's important to me because they say don't meet your heroes. And I'm not afraid to meet The Rock. I just don't know what we talk about. I mean, the shit I'm into may not interest him. I mean, I do like wrestling because of him. I doubt that'd be like when you guys meet me in public, all you wanted to do was talk about The Last Jedi. It's like there are so many other things we could talk about. And after a while, I'm just like, oh, I'm burnt out. So that'd be like every time The Rock meets someone, yeah, man, WrestleMania 17, refought Stone Cold Steve Austin. That was the best match ever. Thank you. And then like later that day, like, oh, dude, so remember when you were in the sharpshooter and you were bleeding? That was so cool. You know what I'm saying? Like after a while, kind of it wears down. So I don't know what I'd really say to him. But if he was following us on social media, awesome. I'd be like, you want to come on our show and, hang out? I'd love that. Grendel Fan 84, thank you very much. He says, cool thing about Todd, he only tweets comics/art. Yeah, I follow Todd McFarlane on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel. I mean, where is he at? I think we may have passed him in terms of numbers for subscribers. Have we? I thought at one point we were ahead of him. Yeah, we're ahead of Todd McFarlane, almost double. He has 39,697 subscribers. So I do love to watch Todd McFarlane draw, and he's a lot of fun. Now that is a comic book artist that I'd like to hang out. I'd like to hang out with Ethan because I feel like we have a lot to talk about. I mean, if you could hear what we talk about on High Council off air, it's not even like damning or anything that these anti-High Council people be like, oh, if we could only have audio clips of that. We talk about like comics and like the first council we ever had with Jeremy after we went off air, we talked about this speeder bike toy for kids from the 80s and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's just, other stuff to talk about too. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, Todd only tweets the comics and stuff, and that makes me like Todd a lot more. So let's show the thing I wanted to talk about now, because, by the way, folks, we have 452 viewers. Let's get 452 thumbs up. I keep saying it because we got to make it happen. And I've noticed because people are giving these videos more thumbs up, they get more views, they get more found. They're found more easily. So I'd like to just take a moment to thank everyone out there, the thumbs up brigade, whatever you want to call yourselves, the thumbs up legion, we are legion, whatever. Come within the chat. I will make sure that you guys will get your credit all the time. So let's talk about a very awesome movie myth to stay in the Halloween spirit, if you will. So we had some people in the chat talking about their favorite horror films. Mine is Halloween, hands down. I could watch Halloween daily. I just like it that much. It's like 90 minutes, maybe an hour and 40 minutes of just good entertainment. John Carpenter is the man. Now, John Carpenter is somebody, people are like, oh, would you want to meet The Rock? He's your hero. Yeah, he kind of is. But at the end of the day, I'd much rather hang out with John Carpenter and learn and talk and be educated. Because, The Rock could teach me some lifting tricks, but I didn't know how to lift. Maybe he could tell me some cool wrestling stories, but he probably won't tell me the good, dirty ones that I want to know. Maybe he will down the road. But John Carpenter is one of the greatest directors of all time that doesn't get the praise. He's got his money and he's doing well financially. He's not broke. He's not living in in a van down by the river. But I don't think his name is on enough people's lips. People go, oh, Steven Spielberg did this in the 80s and did that. Yeah, but John Carpenter did just as much. And actually, it's a lot better, in my opinion. E.T. is whatever for people, but I'd rather watch The Thing. Well, people really like The Color Purple. Well, I really like Big Trouble in Little China. Well, Jeff, what about the Indiana Jones flicks? You got me there. Okay, so now this is going to be a segment on the show we do every once in a while. Not about horror films, but movie urban legends, because I found a pretty good list. I've been reading these for comic books, but I don't really think you guys... Ooh, the Super Nintendo Classic is only $59. Oh, shit. I shouldn't be looking at ads for video games on the air. Excuse me. But I won't do the comic book legends one because I don't think you guys know, like, you know who Marv Wolfman is? If you do, press 1. If not, no big deal. I'm not testing you to make you feel bad. I just I want to make sure that I'm talking about people you know about or care about. So, urban movie legend today's John Carpenter came up with the iconic score for Halloween only after an advanced screening of the film. All October will be legends about scary movies and perhaps TV shows as well. It's really fascinating to realize that there is a whole genre of films that really only came about in the last 40 years. There have obviously been horror films before 1978's Halloween, and there had even been a few films that you would call slashers before that. Heck, one of the classics in the genre would be Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, which came out almost 20 years before Halloween. But the specific setup of director John Carpenter's Halloween was a new one for Hollywood. I've told the story. It told the story of a maniac named Michael Myers, or The Shape, terrorizing a suburban neighborhood on Halloween, trying to kill as many babysitters as possible. Side note, this is a picture from Halloween 4. You'd think they'd stick with Halloween 1, because that's from Halloween 1. But anyway, I digress. One heroic babysitter, Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, was able to protect her young charges and ward off the killer. Slasher killers tried to kill teenagers became its own extremely successful genre from that point on, although a few of its copycats were never able to duplicate the brilliance of Halloween, which stood out as legitimately a great film for its time, regardless of the genre. I agree. Written by Carpenter and his co-producer of the film, Deborah Hill, the movie is also extremely well known for the brilliant stripped-down score of the film by Carpenter himself. Movies traditionally have orchestral scores, so Carpenter's simple keyboard score really stood out, and his famed score was used for most of Halloween sequels, even the ones Carpenter wasn't involved with. What's amazing, however, is that the movie was originally planned to be released without a score at all. The film was made on a very small budget, under $400,000, and its stripped-down style was used beautifully by Carpenter, and the almost guerrilla-style filmmaking somehow worked out perfectly. Like the famous decision by costume designer Tommy Lee Wallace, who used an adapted Captain Kirk face mask for a Michael Myers iconic mask. Wallace just bought the mask from a costume shop for less than $2 and transformed it into a piece of film history. And by the way, I'm friends with him on Facebook. He just had a birthday, so happy birthday to Tommy Lee Wallace. Carpenter, of course, was looking to do even bigger films, and before the release of Halloween, he had screened an almost finished film for a Fox film executive as sort of a demonstration of his skills. Carpenter recalled how her reaction to the film changed it forever. I screened the final cut minus sound and effects for a young executive from 20th Century Fox. I was interviewing for another possible directing job. She wasn't scared at all. I then became determined to save it with music. Carpenter further explained. I had composed and performed the musical score for my first two features, Dark Star and Assault on Precinct 13, as well as many student films. I was the fastest and cheapest I could get. My major influences were composers Bernard Herrmann and Ennio Morricone, which I would work with on The Thing. Herrmann's ability to create an imposing, powerful score with limited orchestra means that the basic background sound of particular instruments, high strings or low bass, was impressive. His score for Psycho, the film that inspired Halloween, was primarily all string instruments. With Herrmann and Morricone in mind, the scoring for Halloween began in late June at the Sound Arts Studio, then a small brick building in an alley in Los Angeles. Dan Wyman was my creative consultant. I had worked with him in 1976 on Assault for Precinct 13, and he programmed the synthesizers and oversaw the recording of my frequently imperfect performances, and often joined me on to perform a difficult line or speed up the seemingly never-ending process of overdubbing one instrument at a time. I have to credit Dan as my Halloween musical co-producer. His fine taste and musicianship polished up the edges of an already minimalistic, rhythm-inspired score. Remarkably, he did the whole score in just 2 weeks. He noted the scoring session took 2 weeks because that's all the budget would allow. Halloween was dubbed in late July, and I finally saw the picture with an audience in the fall. My plan to save it with music seemed to work. About 6 months later, I ran into the same young executive who had been with the 20th Century Fox. She was now with MGM. She now, too, loved the movie, and all I had done was add music. But she really was quite justified with her initial reaction. There's a point in movie making when you experience the final result. For me, it's always when I see an interlock screening of the picture with the music, and all of a sudden a new voice is added to the raw, naked, without effects or music footage. The movie takes on its final style, and it's on that emotional total that it should be judged. Someone once told me that music, or the lack thereof, can make you see better. I believe it. It's amazing how much of a difference an iconic score can make in a film. The legend is true. So in that long roundabout way, Halloween didn't have its music. Somebody didn't find it scary, and then they did, and, well, that changed Halloween forever. Now, while I'm reading these next super chats, I'd love for you guys to tell me some of your favorite iconic movie scores. There are some great ones. We talk music a lot on the channel, but this is an entertainment channel. We call ourselves the epitome of pop culture, so music is part of popular culture. I may not listen to new shit, but that doesn't mean I don't respect film music and all this other stuff. And here's a little tidbit about me, since I always like to share these little things. Whenever I'm going to play my piano, my warm-up music is the theme to Halloween. So it's a nice way to just get, my fingers loose and I'm ready to play. Grendel Fan 84, thank you very much. I think a problem with John is he's had more misses than hits, but when he hits, he hits. That is a very, very interesting and very valid point. I'll give you that. But I think The Thing was a failure because of E.T., and people were just in the mindset of, cute, cuddly aliens and stuff like that. And it kind of hurt him. I think the 80s kind of jaded him But I think his movies are respected now and will be way more respected in the future because I got to get the They Live commentary out for you guys on Patreon. It's such an important film. The movie has so much to say about the current political climate, about the way we live. It's more telling than what's another political movie that people seem to jump into? Oh, I can't think of a modern example. But John Carpenter's just so smart and so with it. And maybe The Fog didn't do this or do that. But overall, you're right. Carpenter did have a lot of misses, but he did have a lot of hits. And when he hit big. And I mean, Halloween, The Thing, Escape from New York, Christine. I thought a lot of those were they're iconic, not just in the horror genre. You know, when we went and worked Horror Hound, Grendel fan, when you met us, we were listening to our John Carpenter radio station on Google Play Music. The man he does it all. You know, if I could be like a John Carpenter, I wouldn't mind being like a John Carpenter. You know, I get to do my own stories and create my own things, and I have a fan base. Would I like the Steven Spielberg money? Of course I would. Do I have stories that appeal to people like that? Of course I do. I think I'm much more personable than John Carpenter, but I do like his work a lot. But you make a good point. Let's see. Our friend Acid Blade 21, thank you very much for your super chat. Good morning, Jeff. Have you watched the 1960 horror movie Eyes Without a Face? John Carpenter had been on record as stating it was the inspiration for some of Michael Myers' emotionless moves, as well as when he wore the mask. Acid Blade 21, I have not even heard of that film. When you say Eyes Without a Face, I instantly think of the Billy Idol song. So let me check out the film real quick because I would like to see what it's about. Eyes Without a Face, there we go, film. The first thing that popped up was Billy Idol. Okay, so it is a French film, it looks like. Yeah, it's a 1960 horror film, the adaptation of Jean Rendon's novel. I will have to check this out. Let me take a screenshot of this flick, because you guys know I'm always into watching a new film each week. Ooh. So it's about a plastic surgeon who's determined to perform a face transplant on his daughter who was disfigured in an auto crash. During the film's production, consideration was given to the... let's see. Okay, so just on that sentence alone, you kind of sold me there, Acid Blade. Ooh, it's kind of creepy looking, too. All right, I'm going to add this to my list. Thank you for letting me know, because I do like to see the evolution of my favorite films. But at the same time, this just looks like a good, fun, creepy kind of movie. Let's see. It's available on home media, obviously. Oh, it's got a Criterion Collection Blu-ray, so maybe I'll check that out as soon as I can. And maybe I'll look to get a copy today later, and I'll watch that. That'll be one of those movies I'll get myself a lunch, and I'll sit down and watch it and let you know. I'm trying to read The Legacy and see what it says about John Carpenter. Oh, yeah, here you go, right here. You're 100% right. I mean, I was never doubting you. Don't worry. I just wanted to elaborate for the listeners out there. The film also influenced American film production. John Carpenter has suggested that the film inspired the idea of a featureless mask for Michael Myers, the character in the slasher film series Halloween. Carpenter recalls the film crew didn't have any money to make a mask. It was originally written the way you see it. In other words, it's a pale mask with human face, almost featureless. I don't know why I wrote that down. Why Deborah Hill and I decided on that. Maybe because of an old movie called Eyes Without a Face. Like I said, it was never a question of and your stuff. I just wanted to know if there was more to read on air. Let's see. In 2001 on VH1 Storytellers, Billy Idol cited the film as giving him the idea for the song Eyes Without a Face. This song, which has the film's original French title, as the recurring background chorus. Taken the father-daughter relationship from the film and recast it as a deteriorated relationship because of the narrator and his lover. This song became Idol's first top 10 hit in the U.S. I do like that song a lot. Maybe I'll put that as the outro for our streaming service version of the show. But again, thank you very much, Acid Blade 21. I appreciate that. And I'm always happy to know more about Michael Myers. And I'm excited for my Michael Myers figure to show up in the mail. Maybe I'll do an unboxing for the channel, but hey guys, it's Halloween time. Let's do something fun, toy related. Spooky. Also, I want to give you guys a heads up. Wednesday night, do not go out, do not do anything unless you got to work or take care of family responsibilities. We're doing our top 10 Twilight Zone watch party. Now, this is ours. The official one for the channel is Sunday night. We'll give you guys a time. But this one is going to be a lot of fun. Kendo, Nick, and I have released the list on Patreon. I'll get the list and put that up on social media today for everyone else. And basically, it's a watch party. We're going to give you guys our episodes in the right order, and you watch it with us, and we'll have a conversation back and forth. So I'm really excited. It's one of it's my favorite TV show, and you're going to hear us break it down and give you reasons why we like it. So it's just, again, part of our Halloween spectacular, spooktacular, Schlocktoberfest, as I like to call it. Sir Ruin of House Roundhead, thank you very much. Did you see the new Venom movie? And if so, are you more intrigued by where Sony could be headed with their Marvel universe and versus where the MCU is headed? Well, Sir Ruin of House Roundhead, I have not seen the film. I'm not on a crusade to not want to watch it, but my interest in Venom is almost non-existent. There's a big new Venom wave from the Marvel Legends toy line. I saw it. Did I buy it? No. There's something about the character that I like the early appearances of the character, but even as a kid, the character took on a life of its own, and I wasn't there. I wasn't invested in it emotionally. So, but I will try to answer your question to the best of my knowledge. So, am I intrigued to where Sony could be headed with their Marvel Universe versus where the MCU is headed? I am not. I am not saying that because I'm a Marvel fanboy. You hear me rail on the possibility of Captain Marvel being woke and Kevin Feige going woke and all that stuff. My concern is Sony wants to take a Spider-Verse and build a Spider-Verse. And on the principle of the Spider-Verse alone, I don't like it. I didn't even like it in the books. So unless they're going to do... The only thing that would interest me is if they did the Clone Saga, because it could be a dumpster fire or it could be the greatest thing ever done. So we could have, you could take the Spider Clone Saga and the Spider Totem and all this other shit, and you could do this really fucking bizarre Spider-Man flick. The only way I'd be truly interested in the Marvel Sony universe would be if they did Kraven's Last Hunt, if they just went out and did a very dark Spider-Man flick with an adult Spider-Man. None of this Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good shit. Just a straight up Spider-Man is a man, not a little boy running around going, it smells like a new car. He sounds like Morty to me from Rick and Morty. I'm not trying to rip on it for your sake of your super chat, but if it's a darker, not even darker, just more serious Spider-Man flick without the high school stupidness, I'd be excited. But the MCU has many more characters to go on with, possibly. We don't know where they're going to be with Infinity War and Part 2. So thank you, Sir Ruin of House Roundhead. Once I learn more about it, I will let you guys know. Once I see the movie, I guess I kind of got to see the movie. I keep getting asked about it. We'll see what my schedule's like. I'll make something happen. Sinovarath653, thank you very much for your super chat. My favorite movie scores come from my top 3 movies, which are Halloween 1978, Godzilla 1954, and Jurassic Park. It's, let's see, out of your top 3, I love Halloween. Halloween is one of my favorite movie scores. I'd say Halloween's a top 15 favorite flick for me. For as much as I praise it, it definitely is not top 5. It could be top 10. It definitely surpass most of the superhero movies out there because I put superhero movies in a different category. The Godzilla score, I just know that like the theme to Godzilla or whatever. I know that off the top of it. And Jurassic Park, I may not be in love with Jurassic Park like a lot of people are, but I'll give that movie music credit. It's really, really good. It's John Williams. Actually, the other day when I was working on the comic, the other day when I was working on the art for the people, which I still got to email out, it's done. I listened to some John Williams music. And the Jurassic Park theme, the Welcome to Jurassic Park with the big trumpets played. I'm like, this is cool. I could imagine the helicopter landing and all that shit. So those are 3 excellent choices. Let's see. My top 3 movies don't have my top 3 scores. Only one of them does. So my top 3 movies are Back to the Future, Star Wars, and Die Hard. But my favorite movie scores are Star Wars, Beverly Hills Cop. I don't know what number 3 would be. Ooh. The Star Wars score, in my opinion, can't be topped. It is perfection. And then Beverly Hills Cop is a personal favorite, which I listen to like almost every day. Like I can't wait for my Axel Foley costume to get here because I'll probably put it on and listen to the theme song before I go to my party. But I'm trying to look at other film scores right now, and I'm just not seeing what else do I own. Ooh, I don't really own many movie scores. So I'm just going to give you my top two. Sin Over Wrath 653. But your top three films are very good choices. I love Halloween. Godzilla gets all the respect. Jurassic Park, that's fun. We also had another one from Swinging Cod. Thank you very much. Do the comic stuff. Need to justify my 70 long boxes. Wolfman was Wolverine and Crisis on Infinite Earths. Everyone knows this. I can do some comic stuff, Swinging Cod. I can do some comic stuff. I'll curate my list of comic book legends, and we'll do it to to lengthen the show. We went really long yesterday, and not once did I feel, man, this show has passed its expiration date. I had a great time. I don't want to make Good Morning Pop Culture 3 hours a day, but I don't regret it going to 3 hours a day. Put it like that. So our friend Magic Bollocks also sent one in as well. Let's see. Jeff, what was the last good John Carpenter film in your opinion? I think that The Mouth of Madness, Escape from LA was total. Sorry, I think that In the Mouth of Madness, Escape from LA was total pants. Let's see. In the Mouth of Madness, was that? Let me look at John Carpenter films real quick. I don't like Escape from LA. I'm not even going to try to tell you that Escape from LA is a good film. Let's see. John Carpenter, not John Carpenter. Okay, John Carpenter, let's look at his film list, blah, blah, blah. Just show me the goddamn filmography. Give me the codes in Italian. Give them to me. I don't want to... God. Okay, filmography. As a director, let's see. Let's go backwards. I mean, I didn't dislike The Ward. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. It was better than Ghosts of Mars. I've never seen Vampires. Escape from LA sucks. Village of the Damned was all right. I love Body Bags. I think the last one that I would want to buy and own and watch repeatedly would be Body Bags. But man, John Carpenter's 80s, dude. Listen to Fog, Escape from New York, The Thing, Christine, Starman, Big Trouble Little China, Prince of Darkness, They Live. It's a pretty strong lineup. But yeah, I'll go with the last good one. The Ward was passable, but the last great one for me was Body Bags. That is where I am emotionally right now. So a lot of people are ripping on movie scores today. They are. Dion always jumps on about Michael Giacchino, but like the Star Trek movie, I'll get it. It has good music, but that's it. That doesn't make all movies have good scores. A lot of things like Baby Driver doesn't really have a score. It just has a soundtrack. Good. Spider-Man Homecoming, not a memorable score. Spider-Man's 1 through 3, memorable score. X-Men, the main theme's pretty memorable, but other than that, I couldn't tell you any of the goddamn music from the movie. Grendel fan 84. I'm thinking of Jason Voorhees over here. Sorry. Thankfully, there's no Friday the 13th. Is there a Friday the 13th this month? No, there isn't. Guilty Pleasure. John Carpenter's Vampires. Love James Wood, and he's a badass in it. James Woods, when he's not being named, high schools aren't being named after him. I like James Woods as well. I gotta watch that movie. Just because I sit and go on about how great John Carpenter is, why not? Why not watch Vampires? The reason I always bring up the parallel between John Carpenter and Steven Spielberg is not because I think they're the two greatest directors. The parallel is the 80s are considered Steven Spielberg's golden age. I don't think Steven Spielberg's 80s were any better than John Carpenter's. Yeah, Indiana Jones trilogy, but there are other ones I don't like. So, that's just a personal thing. Maybe commercially, not maybe, definitely commercially, Steven Spielberg beats everybody. But in terms of what I want to watch, it's going to be a Carpenter film most of the time until you pull out that Indiana Jones trump card and I'm just like, shit. That's all I can say. But that's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing at all. Now, I know we're getting closer to Halloween, so we've covered our horror element for the day. We're not going to talk about The Walking Dead. We discussed the passing of Scott Wilson, a.k.a. Herschel. So may he rest in peace and all that stuff. But for one final story, this is different for us on Good Morning Pop Culture. Hopefully people stick around for me to talk about this one. Sony is officially working on a next-generation console. They won't call it PlayStation 5 right now, but Sony has finally confirmed that, yes, another console is on the way. Speaking to the Financial Times, Sony CEO Kenichiro Yoshida said that, at this point, what I can say is that it's necessary to have next-generation hardware. Yoshida wouldn't commit to a name or explain what form the hardware would take. It's not an enormous surprise that Sony would have begun development on a next-gen console. Not at least because multiple games have been already announced for the next-gen consoles. However, admitting that is working on hardware has led some to conclude that a formal announcement would be closer than expected. So, I have a PlayStation 4. If this is a PlayStation 5 that's backwards compatible, I will probably get it. I guess Twitch streaming needs to become a thing on this channel. There are so many games I need to get, but I'm not going to get a PlayStation 4 Pro. There's not going to be a time where Jeff goes, hey guys, I think a PlayStation Pro is in my future. I mean, an Xbox One X seems cool because I don't have any of the Xbox stuff from this generation, but a PlayStation Pro just couldn't be it. But this could be exciting. I know there are some gamers out there right now. I personally don't want a new PlayStation. I've had mine since launch week. At the Toys R Us that I filmed at that went out of business, that was one of the last major purchases I made at that store, a PlayStation 4. And I've loved it. It got a lot of use for streaming, for video gaming, all kinds of stuff. It's a very useful system. I definitely use my PS4 more than I use my PS3. But and I wasn't disappointed in the exclusives or this generation of games. I have changed who I am as a person, and gaming just isn't at the forefront of my my life. Surprisingly enough, I mean, I got a video game tournament that I'm going to this weekend that I might live stream from, so if you guys are interested in that, let me know. But it's going to be a crazy, crazy weekend this weekend, and the next weekend is the End of Stealing Solo, and it's the birthday party celebration, and all the guys will be in one location, so we'll be able to do some stuff and have some fun. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, see, okay, so people aren't really getting too excited about this. Yeah, I would too. I too would rather it play every PlayStation game 1 through 5. If it plays PlayStation 1 through 5 in 4K with a 4K Blu-ray player and all this other stuff, you have my money on a pre-order. I will buy that in a heartbeat. But until I get that, I'm just going to wait. I don't do PC gaming because I just don't want to spend. I don't put enough time into the games to justify $3,000. You're like, well, you could build a cheap rig. I just don't want to, and I don't want to buy a pre-made one. So I just don't care enough. But I will continue to be a console guy until I just stop buying video games completely. Maybe I will. When I have kids, we'll get more into gaming. But until then, gaming is on the outs for me for the most part. I have comics to draw for you guys. Yeah, that's true. I do have comics to draw, shows to do. Be honest, I have more fun doing this than I would be playing Grand Theft Auto. Like, after a while, it's like, yay, you blew up people. Oh, great. Party All the Time by Eddie Murphy's on the radio. Great. At least with this, there's something different to do and cover all the time. I mean, we just spent a few minutes talking about John Carpenter. That was fun to me. Playing Spider-Man swinging around the city. It's cool for a while, but it's something I've done, 14 years ago, just with shittier graphics. Can I draw you a new console? You damn right I can. The thing is, the Dr. Phil Seitz built a super gaming PC, and he's going nuts on it. It's just not for me. I don't want to have to deal with a lot of the stuff. Be it key. I know you can play with a game controller, but there's just so much of an input cost at the beginning. I don't have to worry about graphics cards and all this shit. Like a car, I just kind of want to get one, and it's done. I don't soup up cars. Yeah, you got to get cars worked on. I understand that. Oh, your alternator's out, you got to get new and stuff like that. But with a PlayStation, with a Nintendo, with everything, hell, I may just go downgrade to Nintendo only if that's going to be the case with all this shit. I got a Switch right here next to me. Played it pretty much. What am I playing on it? Super Mario Brothers 3. Let's see. You don't have to have a monster system to play PC games. Yeah, but half the games that are on PC that I want come out at a later date, or come out on a later date. Grand Theft Auto doesn't come out on PC right away. It comes out later. I don't play enough games. I don't like first-person shooters. I don't like MMOs. I don't like a lot of the games that PC gamers are getting excited for. The shit I want to buy is like Smash Brothers, not even console exclusives always. they come out on console first, and I just like the infrastructure. I like the simplicity. I really don't have to run Windows on top of shit or Steam. I mean, I keep getting my Steam account hacked. I don't really trust Steam anymore. So that's just not going to happen. Unless somebody's going to send us P.O. Box as a gaming PC, which I don't want. Please don't do it. That's the only way I would have a gaming PC in this house. That's all I'm saying. Well, yeah, Smash 2 in 2 months. I can't. Or Smash in 2 months. I can't wait. If only Nintendo would let us live stream, we would live stream Super Smash Brothers. That could be crazy. I'm not that great at it, but I'm pretty good. In a tournament, I came in like 4th, and then usually when I play at my friend's house, the first place spot switches. I'm pretty good with Link. I know he's a slower character, but I like him a lot. Man, there's a lot of passionate gamers in this chat right now. Maybe we should cover some gaming every once in a while. Not to change the channel to a gaming channel, because those things are a dime a dozen. How many goddamn game channels are there? Just saying. How many people are like, Red Dead Redemption looks crazy. Look at the dirt. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm done watching this video. That's the one thing I don't really want to do. Let's watches of video games. Not for me. If you guys want me to make them, I will. It's fine. But I don't want to watch somebody else play a video game, because it takes away the enjoyment for me. Like, somebody's like, you could watch Spider-Man on YouTube. Yeah, but it's a video game. What if I don't like how that guy plays? It'll annoy me more than that. Like, when people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to watch all the cutscenes and all this stuff from the new wrestling game. It's like, cool, but what about the matches? Well, the matches aren't that good. Yeah, but if I play them, they're going to be good because I'm good at the game. So, it's weird. Gaming is such an interesting thing for me because it means so many different things to so many different people. It's a very intimate thing, but it's also a very social, communal thing. It can bring a lot of people together, and they can have a lot of fun, but at the same time, like Legend of Zelda, you sit down, you have your own journey. Nobody plays Zelda the same way. For me, I may go out on a rupee quest, or I may do this, or I may do that. I have more food in my luggage pouch for Link than I do anything else. So it just depends on who you are as a person. I've never played, or I played BioShock. I played the first one when it came out. It was fun. And I too am a single player guy. I don't really like I don't do online shit anymore. I don't want to be yelled at in my ear. I also don't want to deal with dropping, lagging, freezing, all this stuff. I'll just stick with the classics, one player, like Red Dead Redemption. I will buy that. I will buy Spider-Man. I will buy these games. Maybe not play them right away, but they'll be on my shelf in the wrapper waiting to be played one day. Oh, God. High Council video game. Fandom Menace video games. If we have any programmers out there, let's work together. Man, could you imagine like a 16-bit platformer with the people from the High Council? And I don't mean just the three of us. I mean like everybody. Doomcock, Mecha Random, everybody in the game. Now, that would be a lot of fun. Oh, man. Is Mugen still a thing? Because we could get Mugen characters. I could help make some 16-bit sprites, and we could have a lot of fun with that. Brandon Moist, thank you very much. Fortnite had a location called Moisty Mire. Ew. Doesn't that mean moist poop? I have not played Fortnite or PUBG. I've watched PUBG be played once. Not a fan. Mainly because Phil wasn't very good at it. And, yeah, I don't know. I have played Fallout. Have I heard of it? The thing is, I may not talk about games. I'm up on all this shit. I just don't do it. It's just something I know because I've grown up with consoles, One of the few things I inherited from my dad was his Nintendo. I mean, he died at 23, so he didn't have a lot of stuff. He left a lot of clothes, movies, and a Nintendo. And I have the Nintendo still. I played that shit for years. It was a lot of fun. Mario, Zelda, Duck Hunt, Hogan's Alley. All those games were great. But I grew up with the Super Nintendo, and that was my first personal console. And then a couple years later, I had the N64, and that was the first console where I got full-priced games when they were brand new on launch day. And then I moved into the PlayStation 2 era. I've had all the consoles, with the exception of the Segas. And I keep moving forward. I keep buying them. I guess it's just a habit, and I do enjoy them at times, but not as much as other people. Like I refuse to let gaming take over my own personal life. Like I have something productive to do. I'm not going to play a video game in its place. Plus, a lot of the people I know that game waste so much time. They're I don't know. I guess there's a little bit of a stigma for some of the people that I personally know that game, because it's like, do something else with your life. Don't bitch it. The funny thing is, people get pissy about this channel. So some people I know, and it's like, yeah, well, I dedicated myself to this. Gaming wasn't paramount to me. If I spent as much time gaming as you did, there would be no world-class bullshitters. There'd be no Good Morning Pop Culture. There wouldn't be millions of views on this channel. I look at gaming as a time waster in many ways. Now, if you're into it, that's awesome. If you like to listen to the show and game and all that stuff, fine. But as somebody who produces this kind of stuff, a game console just isn't something that I can give too much of my time to. Hell, since I stopped having a TV in this office, I get a lot of my artwork done quicker. I mean, I'm able to knock off the 30% of time because I don't keep looking over and stopping to listen or rewind a line or something. So that is me for just a moment. That is my soapbox moment of the morning. We had a super chat from Cloud Spiffy. Thank you very much, Cloud Spiffy. Mass Effect 1 and 2 is a must-play for single-player experience. Me, 3 is meh, but still viable. Yeah, I mean, I've played the first Mass Effect on the first day it came out. Maybe, after we get our Stealing Solo movie made and there's so much world-class bullshitters funding available, we'll take a month off. We'll go to the Bahamas. We'll play video games on the beach. Be served drinks by beautiful women in bikinis and play video games. Oh man, people are talking about GTA mods. My God. The High Council tonight, I think, is on Ethan's channel. It has to be because Jeremy's driving home for the hurricane. So it's going to be on EVS's channel. P.O. Box, definitely appreciate the reminder. I'm going to go this morning. I'm going to go as soon as this show's over, in about 40 minutes or so. I'll go to the post office and get the biggest P.O. box available, and we're going to have that open. And I will announce the date or the address tomorrow. I'm not going to put it on social media right away because I don't want people to be like, oh, whatever. Plus, it gets you to watch the show tomorrow morning. So it's a little bit of a teaser here and there. But you guys can P.O. box us whatever. And like I said, we'll review it video, or if we get a lot, we'll talk about it each morning on Good Morning Pop Culture. Is the post office open today? Let me Google it. Okay, Google. Is the post office open today?
Business hours for United States Postal Service near Cincinnati.
Yep, it opened at 7:30. Shit, I could have went before the show. Oh well. Oh man, those are some good Star Wars games. Yeah, I hope Jeremy's safe too. He Alina Dunham gaming PC. Ew. It has like a nasty fan that stinks up the room. Oh, but no, yeah, Rogue Squadron and Star Wars Racer were amazing. I own those both. That would have been what, 10-year-old me, yeah, because I've been early '99 when that was out. Rogue Squadron was '98. Yeah, 10-year-old Jeff still liked Star Wars a lot, to a degree, and pre-episode 1, I was a huge Star Wars fan. Post-episode 1, it did kind of bother me for a bit. But, I got back into Star Wars, thankfully. GrendleFan84, thank you very much. Just played Maximum Carnage for the SNES and OMG. The graphics are insane. Nothing will ever top this, ever. But seriously, I love this game. GrendleFan84, I had that game. No, I didn't. I didn't have that game as a kid. I had Spider-Man for the SNES. But I used to play Maximum Carnage quite a bit. I had a friend named Andrew, and his mom would his mom would buy him a lot of superhero stuff. I saw him fairly recently, 2 or 3 years, and he's still into superhero stuff. He's got like posters and all that crap. I bet he'd be surprised if he knew I was doing comic books and stuff. He might ask me to draw him something. He was my friend at one point. I might do it. But I had Spider-Man for the SNES. It was based off the animated series. I'm trying to show you guys an image of it, because then I'll talk about the Maximum Carnage game. Now, I can't really find a good image of the box that's a decent resolution. So I'll show you a picture of the menu screen because it had a really decent rendition of the Spider-Man theme and everything. It was fun. Was it the best game ever? No, but I don't regret getting it. I got it for my birthday one year. And Maximum Carnage, it doesn't play like Maximum Carnage. Maximum Carnage is a side-scrolling beat 'em up. This one is a straight-up platformer, and it has appearances by the Fantastic Four and all the Spider-Man villains. Like in the middle of one level, here comes the Rhino, or here comes so-and-so, Jack-o'-lantern. It was fun. The first villain you fight was Dr. Octopus. And there was this big platform, this beam of electricity. And what you had to do was go up, turn on the electricity, and then when Doc Ock would try to hit you, you would jump behind the energy beam, and he would hit his arm into the energy beam and electrocute himself, and then you'd punch the shit out of him. And it was fun. It was a fun game. I could never get past the Coney Island level, though, because I would always fall off the roller coaster and die, and then I gave up and quit. But Maximum Carnage was a lot of fun because it was just crazy, action-packed, side-scrolling beat-em-up. And I played it, I rented it, and I liked it. I actually have it on an emulator, which, whatever, your opinion, be whatever. But I do want to get the game, and I want to get it in the box. Normally when I get a vintage game, I don't care if it's in the box. But for Maximum Carnage, I'd like it because the box is neat. You got some good artwork on the front. Great artwork on the front, dare I say. I believe that is a Ron Lim Spider-Man and a Sal Buscema Venom artwork. So those aren't the same artists that drew that. And then I don't know who did this cover right here for Carnage, but that is cool. I remember seeing this on the back of comic books and magazines as a kid thinking, holy shit, this looks incredible. And then, it was. I have played Ultimate Spider-Man for PS2. I bought that for Xbox when it first came out. I liked it. I played through it. But I went back to Spider-Man 2. I thought it had better controls, not better graphics, just better controls. Because Ultimate Spider-Man had this stupid mechanic where if you held I guess it would be the Y button, the yellow button, you would climb up like you're climbing a gym class rope. And I didn't think the web swinging mechanics were that good. So maybe they should have stuck with the ones for Spider-Man 2. That was what I liked. Let's see. What about Maximum Carnage sequel, Separation Anxiety? Feels like a cheaper version, but I've played it. I played most Spider-Man games. Web of Shadows, I bought it. Don't like it. Not a fan. Disappointment is the word to describe Web of Shadows for me. Yeah, Spider-Man 2 did have better controls. Laugh and joke and numbnuts, so somebody likes the angry video game nerd. Barbarella Alpha, I'm sorry your internet has been spazzing out on you. If you're missing part of the show, though, remember, we always are on Podbean about an hour after this. So if you're dying for your fix and you missed, certain segments, always go back and listen to it there. Yeah, Web of Shadows sucked. I'm sorry. Shattered Dimensions was awesome, and Edge of Time, not so much. But I bought Web of Shadows, and I'll never forget. It's like collect 1,000 spider tokens. I'm like, yeah, I collected 1,000. Here comes the achievement point. Collect another 1,000. I'm like, fuck this game. I'm done. Let's see. Spider-Man and the Kingpin on the Sega CD was easily one of the best Spider-Man games of the 16-bit era. I've never played it on the Sega CD, but I have played it on the Sega Genesis. It was fun. I ever watched the Venture Brothers? Yes, I have watched the Venture Brothers. I like the show. I like the show quite a bit. But this game just brings back so many memories. Super Nintendo, man. I remember you'd get the Super Nintendo game. It would come in that tray, and it had that little plastic sleeve at the bottom, or that little plastic cover for your games. And you'd get your Nintendo warning, your manual, all that stuff. Some games don't even come with manuals anymore. Like, does the new Spider-Man game come with one? I'd be surprised if it did. I know they think, oh, it's a cost we can cut out. If I ever made a game that had a big wide release, let's say I did a Spider-Man game or a superhero game, I'd have the tutorial in the manual as a comic book. Hire my favorite comic book artist and be like, I need you to draw this and have it colored and all that stuff. That's just me, though. I'm an artist. I know I like to put a little more time and work into my stuff. Let's see. I never owned the SNES, N64, or even a Sega Genesis. Same goes for the first PlayStation. I owned the PS2 but accidentally fried it. How the hell do you fry a PS2? Those things were resilient as hell, at least for me. They were so resilient that it got stolen, and hopefully it broke on them. Oh, I remember the manuals, the player's guides. They were fun. Remember, did anyone here ever get Nintendo Power? I know I was a subscriber from 1999 to 2003, and I used to love you'd get the free gifts. So for my first one, I got the Ocarina of Time soundtrack. Then I got a Nintendo GameCube watch. I got all kinds of stuff from Nintendo Power, but my favorite ones that my mom would be like, no, don't get those. Don't get those, were the player's guide. She's like, it takes away the fun of the game. And I thought to myself, okay, Mom, I'm really not going to argue because I'm, 11 years old maybe. Well, yeah, I've been 11 years old in 1999, and you know better than me. But I always wanted some of these player guides because they were cool. And here's one that I still want to this day: the GoldenEye Player's Guide. I don't know why I want this, but I do. Is it only like, how much is it on Amazon? Oh, it's only $8. I'll buy one of these. But I always just loved the player's guides because it like gives you pictures of the games and all this stuff. It's just another way to consume it. And I thought the N64 one for Mario 64 was damn cool because you just get these really great images of the early 3D renderings. I miss those days. I miss when the games were a little simpler. Thankfully, Nintendo's gone back with this generation with the Switch, and they don't have the hyper realism of the 360. Oh God, what 360? They don't have the hyper realism of the Xbox One X or the PS4 Pro. But what they do have is they take the graphics, they make them stylized but in high def, and they're great looking. Zelda looked great. Smash Brothers looks great. I'm excited to see Mario would look great. All that stuff looked great. I'm really fun for that. Do I remember the theme tune for the PS1 Spider-Man, that weird drum and bass jungle reggae version? Class. Do you mean the one that had the original lyrics over the top and the guy would rap? Spider-Man, him a do whatever a spider can, watch out. I remember that one. That was on my I used to have that downloaded as an MP3 Oh, I remember what I did. So for Xbox 360, you could have your dashboard play music over your games. So I took a CD and I burnt it in the year 2007, and I burnt every Spider-Man song I could possibly get, and I put it on there. So I had that song, I had the Spider-Man 2 theme song, I had a weird TV rip of the 94 theme that had the sound effects over it. I even had the Michael Bublé Spider-Man theme. They would all play as I'd swing around the city. I played Spider-Man 3 probably 120 hours just listening to that song, swinging around. I explored 100% of the city. I did most of the crimes. Fun times. But I remember that song. The Spider-Man game for PS1, I got that on Christmas 2000. And I remember I first played the demo of it at a Kmart, which is no longer a Kmart. The building is now a grocery store called Remke. It used to be a Biggs. Long story short, at Kmart, I used to get a lot of wrestling toys, and I got my first taste of Spider-Man for PS1, and I was hooked. And my mom's like, that looks cool. What is it? I'm like, it's Spider-Man. She goes, wow. And then I got it for Christmas that year, and I played it. I remember the cheat codes by heart. What did I think of Majora's Mask? Didn't like it because of the time limit. Ocarina of Time is one of my favorite video games ever. Majora's Mask just doesn't do it for me. That's all I can say. Let's see. Mr. V, thank you very much for your super chat. Hey, Jeff, better late than never. Work is a bitch right now. What I miss? Oh, man, Mr. V, you missed a hell of a show. We talked about John Carpenter movie legends with the Halloween theme. We talked about Bond will always be a male, according to Barbara Broccoli. We talked about Stanley and the elder abuse situation. So you missed quite a good show. All I can do is suggest you go back, you listen to the replay, or you listen to the streaming version over on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, wherever we are. Good Morning Pop Culture is. And I'm glad you're here. Better late than never, man. And yeah, working can suck. Believe me, I know. I've been there. My 7-Up job. I couldn't imagine trying to have this channel and working at 7-Up. I'd be like, all right, guys, it's time for Good Morning Pop Culture. From my car, I'm about to go into a Kroger. What did I read on Google? Blah, 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 blah. And then I walk in and I live stream me stocking pop shelves. That sounds utterly depressing. I would rather roll up into a ball and cry and watch The Amazing Spider-Man 2 on repeat than relive that job. Let me know about some of your shittiest jobs you guys have ever had out there. Electric Company Spider-Man. I know it. I've never watched the whole episodes, but I've seen clips. I did that too, Benobi, for Grand Theft Auto. I'd play James Bond themes as I would do the heist missions. Let's see. Anthony Mata, thank you very much for your super chat. Morning, Jeff. Did you see the new season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? I heard D said Soy Boy and Beta Cock. Hilarious. Anthony Mata, I have not seen the new season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, not because I'm on an anti It's Always Sunny kick, but because it's not on Hulu currently. They want you to pay $2 an episode. They also want you to get some kind of new service for FX. Like, it's like an extra tier or something to Hulu. I already pay for the premium one with no ads. It's like $13 a month. So until it hits Hulu, I haven't watched it. So I guess I'll be binge watching it in a few short weeks because they're only like 10 episodes a season. But I do love Sweet D. She is one of my favorite female characters on any TV show. She's funny. She's depraved. She's a piece of shit underneath it all, and I love her. Like the episode where she hires the male stripper to strip for his daughter's party is hilarious, and it's all her doing. Like, that's some messed up shit. That's dark. That's dark, Sweet D. And I love her. So I'll definitely look forward to her saying Soy Boy and Beta Cock. I'd love to get the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia people on the show. Hey, dream big. Anything can happen. Tomb Raider games are almost impossible to play without the strategy guides. I had Tomb Raider for the PC. Yeah, I had it for PC back in 95 when we bought a super expensive computer. I didn't know what I was doing, so I used to just run around Lara Croft's mansion, and that was it. That was about it for Tomb Raider. I never even saw the dinosaurs or any of that shit. What is my favorite GTA mod? I've never played a GTA mod. I did do one thing, though, in San Andreas, because I did buy that for my old PC. So I've had two powerful PCs, like store-bought ones. So my mom bought me a Sony Vaio in 2005. It was like dual core and all this shit. So it was like super powerful for the time. And I used to edit videos and do all this kind of stuff. It had a DVR built into it. So what I would do is I would hook up the coaxial from the internet. I'd split it. One would go into the router, one would go into the computer. And it didn't really affect our internet speeds. And I would be able to DVR TV shows in 2005 before I even had a DVR in the house. I still don't even have a DVR. I had that old computer. But long story short, I would play GTA San Andreas on it because I love that game. It might be my favorite video game ever next to GoldenEye. And I learned how to change the weight of the cars. So I turned the weight of the bullet, I think, all the way down so the car would just go flying across the screen. So I played with the values, but that's all I really knew how to do myself. I've seen the James Bond mods, and I'd love those. Like, if I had GTA 5 on a super PC in 4K or 8K or whatever million Ks I could get, I would love to have all the Bond cars look just like Forza, and then I would roll around and I would do terrible, terrible things to people, James Bond style. And that'd be my favorite mod. What another mod would be, and this isn't even possible, would be to have GTA 4 and 5 be on one game where you go to an airport, you press a button, and it takes you to GTA 4. That would be fun to me. Also, another super mod, which I don't think would be possible, is like you play GTA 5, but somehow you can play GTA 4, but you can be Spider-Man swinging around that city with those controls. Again, I don't think it's possible, but that would be fun. Why not do game streams playing classic or maybe your favorite games? I'm going to do that around Christmas. During the holidays, a lot of people are off work, so there might not be Good Morning Pop Culture the way it is, but I am working to get my streaming setup done properly. I'm also going to get us an official a better World Class Bullshitters Snapchat and be more adamant on our Instagram so we can tell you guys when we go live and really build up our social media presence, because we have a really great one. We're about to hit, I think, 5,000 Twitter followers. And we're almost to 75,100 YouTube subscribers. So we got to keep building up that social media presence to keep the brand going strong. And I'll do some streaming down the road, guys. I definitely want to. I want to do some vlogs, too. I'll do some vlogging over the my birthday weekend and this weekend for the gaming tournament. You guys can just check it out for a few minutes and have some fun with us. Cinevareth653, thank you very much for your super chat. I started watching the old X-Men cartoon last night and almost finished the first season. I have to say I liked it. and I loved whenever Rogue was on screen. Cinevareth, I'm so glad you brought this up because I love talking about X-Men. Why? Because X-Men, the animated series, is one of my favorite shows as a kid. Now, I too love Rogue. I love the entire team. So if this was your first time seeing it, I remember being a kid watching it in 92. I don't know if I watched the first debut of it because it was on at night. I don't know what I would have been doing. But in the early 90s, Pizza Hut had a McDonald's special. No, Pizza Hut had an X-Men like set you could get as a kid. So my mom was one of those parents that would always take me to do fun stuff. Even if she couldn't afford to like take me on vacations, she tried to make every day pretty good that she was off work. Actually, she did. She would take me to Chuck E. Cheese. She'd take me to Toys R Us, all this stuff. So her off days were really awesome for me. But I'll never forget Pizza Hut as a kid, because Pizza Hut back then, they had all freestanding restaurants, and we went to Pizza Hut and you'd get, I'm going to type this in to show you guys, Pizza Hut X-Men. You would get like a comic book, you could buy a videotape, you could do all kinds of stuff. So let me show you guys first off the videotapes, and then I'll show the there we go. This takes me back. Now you can see why I like X-Men. I just want to look at the image. I don't want to go to the Reddit page. Okay, so this was how I watched X-Men, the animated series in the beginning. I watched these tapes religiously. So here they are. This is what they looked like. And I actually have this trading card somewhere, this one with the whole team on the front. But this was my first exposure. This is my first memory. I know I watched the cartoon on TV and I had the toys. Well, I had Cyclops and I had a lot of Spider-Man figures. But I definitely remember these tapes. And I watched them a bunch. They used to have Stan Lee in the beginning. They had like a narration or an opening with Bob Harris and Fabian Nicienza and all these people and Stan Lee. I knew the fuck they were. I would fast forward through it half the time, but I can remember the music would go do 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 do, and then it would cut into the X-Men theme instantly. So every time I kind of hear the X-Men theme in the back of my mind, I'm thinking of that do 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 do. But these came from Pizza Hut, and this is also what came from Pizza Hut. Let's see, the image loads better now. Image new tab, blah, blah. But this is really what I had fun with the X-Men as a kid. Going back and getting these, because I like Pizza Hut. I'll be the first to admit Pizza Hut is delicious. Not good for you. Very salty. Full of carbs and fat and shit. But I do love Pizza Hut pizza. It's if you could taste nostalgia, that's what Pizza Hut pan pizza tastes like to me. Get me a Super Nintendo, I guess Pepsi. I didn't drink a lot of cola as a kid, but give me a Super Nintendo, a pepperoni pizza from Pizza Hut, and some X-Men, and I'm a kid again. I'm having a good time. Maybe I'll watch Home Alone at my cousin's house or something. But yeah, we had this X-Men Kids Pizza Pack, and you get a comic book, a play set, the box, all this stuff. I would love to go back and buy. I would buy all this stuff unused. Like, I'd buy X-Men pizza boxes and cups and all this shit if they were in good condition. But when I would go back and watch the show on Hulu, the first thing I noticed is how good it was. Because as a kid, there were certain elements I found confusing. The narrative structure was a lot more in-depth. But as a kid, I was like 4, and I didn't understand some of it. I also liked Batman a lot more because it was a single character. You know, I had already known about Batman. The X-Men show was my first introduction to these characters. And I wasn't like every kid in America. I didn't like Wolverine. I liked Cyclops. I liked his powers. I thought he was normal. But going back to watch it, Wolverine is the star. The show's great. Jean Grey's annoying. I mean, Cinevareth, when you go back and watch more episodes, she'll go, Scott, oh, like wait till season 2 when they get kidnapped by Mr. Sinister. It's a good episode, but it is kind of funny. And then I'm interested to hear what you think about Morph, because Morph was created for the show, pretty sure. And, you know, he dies in the first episode or second episode. No, he dies in the first one. Interesting stuff. The Beast actually has to wait out for his day in court. All that stuff. That show was so ahead of its time. And I respect it for that. And it really holds up well. If Disney would do what I want, they would release that show in high def on Blu-ray. I'd buy X-Men the animated series on Blu-ray tomorrow, yesterday even. If they announced it, I'd be as excited for this show as I am Batman. With the caveat, Batman ends on a high note. X-Men's final season is pretty shitty. So, Cinevareth, I'm not trying to spoil it for you. The storytelling and the animation The storytelling is okay at the final season, and the voiceovers are the same, but the animation takes a dip in quality. They change the art style to save money. It's noticeable. They switched the theme song. I mean, really, the best part of that show, the X-Men theme song is the best cartoon theme song ever. Maybe the best theme song ever. I mean, maybe not Star Wars level of good or Beverly Hills Cop, but the X-Men theme is up there. And that was created by Ron Wasserman, the guy that did the Power Rangers theme. And it is just so cool. If you don't know it, go listen to it. And if you know it, you're hearing it right now in your head. It's so awesome. And that's what every time I see the X-Men, I think of that theme song. And this cartoon and this time in my life is why I'm out there picking up X-Men figures from Hasbro. I don't even read X-Men comics. I have maybe 15 or 20 X-Men comics. And hell, the ones that I think are the good comics come from before the X-Men looked like this. The John Byrne, Chris Claremont era. I think those are great. Then you have X-Force and stuff like that from the later 80s. Those are the books I think are better. But nostalgia and just the power of good design is what is causing me to throw some cash at X-Men. I mean, look at this picture right here. I have Cyclops and Wolverine. I just bought a second Wolverine. Now, I have Bishop as well. They haven't made a Storm in the white costume yet, but they will, and I'll get it. Like I said yesterday, Rogue and Jean Grey are out of my price point. I want to spend $50 on a Rogue figure and $100 on Jean Grey. I like them both. $20 retail price in a heartbeat. Hell, you could sell me one out of the box as long as the joints are tight and there's no paint scuffs. I'd pay retail price, and you can keep the Build-A-Figure point apart. And then Gambit, they announced him at Comic-Con. I'll be pre-ordering Gambit because Gambit is the fucking man, as well as Jubilee because Jubilee's part of the team. But man, I'm glad you're enjoying. I'm hoping you're enjoying the show. I'm glad you're watching it the way you are. Season 2 is really damn good too. You'll get to learn about the Juggernaut, bitch. I'm sorry, I spent a lot of time on this message. I just really like X-Men, that cartoon. It was such a good time in my life. It was and it's not like, here's one thing. I know a lot of people look back on their childhood and go, man, I miss that, whatever's now. Like I have said to you guys before, because you know how Facebook does those memories, on this day, this. Facebook did a whole 10-year ago thing, because now I've had Facebook for a decade. And I looked back on some of my college pictures that popped up and thinking, man, I was having so much fun back then. And I thought, I'm having more fun now. I've told you guys this before, but I mean, like 2018 has been like the best year of my life. Things have been going right. Things have been going good. We built this community. I'm in better shape. Things are going good. Health-wise, everything's great. I'm very, very happy. And, I look back at this X-Men stuff, and I don't pine for my childhood days because thankfully my mom and I are still close. She's alive and healthy. All these good things. But I do miss the freedom and the light, airy funness of the 90s before, the internet took over the way it has, and social media is what it is, and people are really kind of shitty to each other. Like I said yesterday, be excellent to each other, like Bill and Ted say. But yeah, man, roundabout way of saying X-Men, this fucking show rules. If this was still on Hulu, I could pop this on this afternoon while I'm working. May not get a lot done. May want to draw pictures of Wolverine all day. I love Wolverine as an adult. So much depth. I get him now as an adult. As a kid, I didn't. I just thought he was like, and running around with his claws. But as an adult, I get the pain. Now I know he's, he regenerates and he's lived for such a long time. Best X character. Alphamar, what old superhero shows would I recommend? The X-Men make me want to watch it now too. X-Men's great. If you haven't seen Batman the Animated Series, it is the best cartoon based on a superhero ever. Nothing's topped it. Nothing's even come close. Superman was good. I suggest just watch everything that came out in the 90s. Even the bad stuff like Fantastic Four, Iron Man, and the Incredible Hulk. Those shows are lesser. But one nice thing about all these shows, it gives you an idea of where these characters were when they came out. So X-Men had the big money behind it because it was the big property. Spider-Man had the big money behind it because it was a big property. Batman was the big property. It had the money behind it too. And Superman was kind of in a weird limbo where he had died. The comic made a bunch of money, but there were movies out and stuff like that. So I suggest you just go back and watch everything. Static Shock, all of it. If it came out in the 90s, make sure you watch it because it's definitely worth your time. And thank you, Bonobi, for the trophy for the 75,000 subscribers. I appreciate that. We're going to get ourselves... we're going to do an episode soon. I got to get the other guys together. Don't forget the Gambit sound in the 90s. They used it nonstop. Yeah, and Professor X, too. I would buy Spider-Man the Animated Series on Blu-ray. Same goes for Superman and X-Men as well. Yeah, Gamepad. I'll buy them all. I don't want to get them for streaming services. I want them for physical releases with special features because there haven't really been a lot of special features on the X-Men show. At least not enough for me. Grendel Fan 84. Thank you very much for your super chat. That first season's dark by standards. It is dark by today's standards. It's but that's not a bad thing. The X-Men aren't really these bright, happy, fun characters. They're persecuted humans, or they're mutants, you know. There you go. You see how I feel about them. They're still people to me. No, but they're persecuted for being different. They're hated. I mean, that show almost has neo-Nazis in it for a cartoon. They have these people with armbands. Yeah, they don't have anything on them, but my God, they're going that far, you know, for a kid's cartoon. And I'm not saying you need to show children these terrible things, but you gotta let them, like in the realm of an X-Men story, you can have it be, you know, a parable about hatred and humankind and humanity and all that stuff. And at the same time, you can have it for adults that realize what's going on as well. And then kids can be sold the bright colors, the fun, the action, and then the adults have something to sink their teeth into. Like I said, I don't really advocate for showing kids some fucked up stuff, but, you know, hatred is not good. You know, the X-Men are the heroes of the story, and they come up against terrible adversity from humans. It's like the X-Men are out there fighting to save humankind from evil mutants, but they're treated just as bad as the evil mutants. The show is a lot deeper than anybody wants to give it credit, and I respect the shit out of it. But again, thank you, GrendelFan84. And folks, check out Comics Elite on Facebook. I'm a subscriber. I'm going to be talking to them. They're good dudes. They have a lot of good products out there. And if you like your local comic book shops, check out your own. If you don't have one, check out Comics Elite. You know, they ship. Swinging Cod, thank you very much for your super chat. Morph from the early X-Men comics, died of cancer. Oh, okay. I always thought Morph was a creation for the show. My bad. But I do remember how he died. I love that first episode when they're in the mall and Gambit's trying to hit on the chick in the card store. Don't mess with the X-Men. And it plays on repeat or whatever. Oh, man, I love that show. So, oh, man, I'm smiling from ear to ear right now. I'm thinking about ordering a Pizza Hut pizza and watching a cartoon after the show. I'll go out to the post office in an hour and then get my P.O. box, pick up my pizza, come back and work, and then go to the gym. It sounds really, really, really tempting right now. What is the best way to get into the X-Men? Well, Trent, you can always contact me, on Facebook for other advice. I hate to say it, guys. It's not that good of an idea to get into more modern X-Men. If you want my take, go back and get giant-sized X-Men #1. Let me show you the cover. It's expensive, but you can get reprints and stuff like that. Get a reprint of this comic I'm about to show you. And seriously, this is the best way to start. You can either buy it for $1 on Comixology or read it online, however you want. Hell, they may have just released this version, this True Believers edition. But this is Jeff's advice for the day. Seriously. I usually tell you guys, go to the beginning, go from the beginning, go from the beginning. This is technically a new start for X-Men. There was the original run in the 60s, but it's way different. But right here, ignore the True Believers part. The original cover is essentially this. It's a little different. But giant-sized X-Men #1 is my jumping on point for any new X-Men readers. And then it jumps into like X-Men number 96 or 121 or something like that. This is the introduction of Wolverine, Colossus, Storm, a lot of these characters. See, the old X-Men in the background in the blue, they're kidnapped by a living island, and Cyclops is the only one who escapes. And he comes back, and Professor X and he and Professor X recruit a new team of X-Men, and they go off to fight this living island thing. And it's a good story. And then it kind of is a reintroduction to the X-Men. And this is, 1975, 6-ish? So you're going to get the Dave Cockrum art eventually. And then once you get through the Dave Cockrum, Chris Claremont run, then you get into the John Byrne run, which is iconic itself. That's where Dark Phoenix comes in. That's where Days of Future Past. I think Days of Future Past follows directly after Dark Phoenix. It's all just one big run, essentially. I may be a couple issues off, but I'm pretty sure they come fairly close to each other. And that's a good jumping on point. You'll get the feel of the character and the teams and stuff, and then slowly build your way up to the 90s. The 90s X-Men is a lot harder to read. I love Jim Lee's artwork, but the panel layout is just so confusing. There's so much density to the artwork. It's a lot like the Star Wars prequels. Sometimes the simplicity of the John Byrne, Chris Claremont era is truly its greatest asset. But, Jim Lee is the man, and I have nothing but respect for the dude's artwork. But Trent, that is the best way to get into it, man. You can always call me, ask me some questions, but get yourself a copy of that. And don't buy the original. It's hundreds of, not thousands of dollars for a good copy. Not worth it. Get yourself a reprint. Get yourself an X-Men omnibus, something like that. Let's see. Yeah, a Static Shock crossover with Batman Beyond, I think. There was a Static Shock crossover for sure. I like that cartoon a lot. I remember the episode where Shaq was on it, and I also remember the episode where his friend's dad didn't like him. Was it Richie? Was it Richie or Jimmy? His dad didn't like Virgil because he was black or something. It was a weird episode, but they handled it kind of well, and they remained friends. I mean, you know, that shit happens. It was the 90s, early 2000s. It was a simpler time where no one was as cautiously stupid as they are now. Cinevareth 653, again, thank you very much. Yeah, I was actually feeling pretty down last night. Once I started watching the show, my mood was lifted. I'll definitely watch all the seasons. Now, Cinevareth, I would like you to do me a favor and tell me what you think along the way. I mean, I admitted to liking the show as a kid and being emotionally attached to it and having a good time watching it. So it'll be interesting to listen to an adult who doesn't have the same connection. But you said it raised your spirits. And I think it's the best representation of X-Men ever. Some of the films are great. You know, X2 is really great. Logan is really good. I love Days of the Future Past. But that X-Men cartoon from the 90s is just so cool, and the costumes are so great, and there's so many things about it that just work on so many levels. I stand by it fully, and I do have interest in hearing what you think. If I ever recommend a show to you guys and girls out there, let me know what you think when you watch it, just out of curiosity. Are we on the same page? You know, and you don't have to tell me if you didn't. I mean, if you liked it. If you didn't like it, let me know. We can have a discussion. I find that just as interesting as those who, you know, like what I recommend. So it's all just one big conversation I'm trying to have at the end of the day. Let's see. Do I watch the Get Smart TV show? Or did I? Yeah, back in the day. I used to love that show. Oh, Turbo Donk, thank you very much. Turbo Donk sent in a $10 super chat that just said, pizza time. Well, I guess I got to eat a pizza now thanks to you. I'm going to Pizza Hut because they're going to have a special. Let me see what Pizza Hut has, and I'll order that. I think they open at 11, so I'll be the first pizza they sell. I'll order it at 10:45 online. Let's see. Pizza Hut. Oh, they got large. Your current store is closed. Yeah, I know it's closed. I'm not trying to order a pizza at 9:57. What is this, college? I've tried to order food like that early in the morning. I was also drinking already. Dion and I got so many of those stories. You know what? We're going to do a New Year's stream, like not on New Year's Eve, because we're going to be partying, doing our own thing. We got invited to go somewhere. But I'll do a stream with Dion in Michigan, and you guys can ask us more stories about us. If you want to know, we'll have a couple beers, and we'll just we'll let the good times roll, and we'll tell you those great stories. But again, thank you much, Turbo Donk. I appreciate that. I got to get back to your Patreon message, by the way, dude, because you said something about when the guys are in town meeting up. I mean, we're going to see Halloween that Saturday morning, so if you kind of want to meet up before we go off and do our own thing, you're more than welcome to join us for that. Maybe we'll have lunch or something and hang out, so let me know. Like I said, I'm not opposed to meeting with people that are local to the area. I'm not into stranger danger, if you will. So, you know, Turbo Donk, let me just respond to this. I apologize. By the way, folks, Kendo, I'm going to start asking Kendo to respond to some of the emails. I do not want to leave people hanging. I get all the people that want to do the ad stuff taken care of, but I don't want to leave any email left unread because everyone matters. So I don't want you guys to think, oh, you know, they don't care anymore. We do care. I've just been really, really busy. The live show, the few hours I have in between. So I want to make sure I get everyone responded to. So thank you. If I haven't, gotten back to you yet. Grendel Fan 84 says, we got a lot of cool stuff from New York Comic Con. New Comic Tuesday live sale tonight on Cube ECAF. Subscribe and tune in. Comics Elite Comics. There we go, folks. I do stand by Comics Elite. I don't sit and promote stuff that, people can buy advertising spots and stuff, but Comics Elite are legit. I've met the owner. I've met Grendel Fan 84. Both great dudes. I know what their stores are about. They care about comics. You know, the world, The world of comics is in a weird place right now, but Comics Elite is able to maintain that level of fun and respectability that your average comic book store may not be able to do. So, I mean, seriously, if you guys want to get into newer stuff, if you don't have a local comic book shop, Comics Elite is your best place. They always go to the big conventions. They get the cool stuff. They're very fun. They're very nice. And they're very generous. I mean, they gave me a nice stack of comics to read. I worked through some of them, and it's, like I said, these aren't paid advertising spots. They're not plugs. They're just, a good store that deserves recognition. So thousands of people will hear this show eventually. Hopefully, everyone goes and checks it out. Let's see, Thunder Robot says, I just bought and read Executioner's Song. I don't remember that story off the top of my head. I'll have to check that out. I'm just, let's see. Island of Krakoa. It also came as a two-parter non-giant. Okay, so Johnny Inkle knows what's up. I just strongly recommend this story. It's a lot of fun. It's a very good story. Let's see. Now you got me thinking of Jimi Hendrix. All right, cool. Cinevareth is going to let me know. Awesome. I'm glad you guys like my recommendations. I'm very picky about certain things, but I do try to give you guys the best. Like if you were to say to me, Jeff, are there any action figures I should start collecting? If you're into that type of thing, I'd be like, yeah, now's a great time to get into Marvel Legends. You got X-Men, Spider-Man, MCU toys. See, the MCU has had figures for most movies, but they weren't really good quality. Now we're at a point where you can go to your store. They're kind of pricey, but I mean, when you get Captain America from Civil War, it looks just like him. When you get Thor, it looks just like him. So, I mean, we're in a good point for all this type of stuff. Let's see. Uber Eats Pizza Hut stream. I just go to the Pizza Hut. It's not too far from my house. I live, 2 miles from it. I'm going to go to the post office anyway, so it's not too far out of the way. Stuffed crust like a motherfucker. Are you going to order spaghetti at Pizza Hut? Do they offer it? I've never ordered pasta from an Italian restaurant like that serves pizza. Well, would you call Pizza Hut Italian restaurant? I wouldn't. I wouldn't order pizza or pasta from Pizza Hut or Domino's or Little Caesars or Papa John's, any of those places. I would just order the pizza. And Little Caesars, I wouldn't order anything. I fear that Halloween might go woke around the other stuff surrounding it. Pete, I've heard that concern before. Let me tell you why I'm not too concerned. Halloween movies, horror movies in general, have these slasher films that we talked about earlier, traditionally have the final girl. Maybe they'll talk about this shit in the media, but until the movie itself has that message, I'm not going to be concerned. Like Laurie Strode, her character would be, trained after the killing. My only complaint with this is, and this isn't really a complaint with just all of them, is I really don't think Laurie Strode would go to become this militant soldier. I bought more into the whole she ran away to California and started a new life under a fake name and all this stuff. I believe that from Halloween H2O more than I believe she's living out, waiting for Michael Myers to come back and all this stuff. That's just me. I don't think the movie will go woke because it's always been in Halloween's nature to have, the final survivor be the woman who kills Michael Myers, or Dr. Loomis comes in at the last moment. It's just part of the tradition. So I won't read too much into the wokeness of Halloween, but if it is woke, like stupidly, I'll be the first person to talk about it, guys. Just because I'm excited for something doesn't mean I will lie to you about the end results. I don't benefit from Halloween getting great reviews from this channel or anything like that. So if it sucks, it sucks. I don't want it to. I want more Michael Myers. I think Michael Myers is a cool character. I hope, because there's a rumor, or they've already said they're making another one. I hope Laurie gets killed by Michael Myers and he wins. And we just go on to Michael Myers doing more random shit. That's what I want. I don't necessarily need her to, maybe she's been waiting for 40 years and he finally got her and he gets her family too, type of thing. I'm expecting to be entertained. Etep Wakuyan, I will check the email a little later and I'll tell Kendo to check those two. I'll start telling him to, I'll throw that, I'll have him delegate that part, or I'll delegate that part to him. I don't know Alpha Mar. I don't think she's that popular, Captain Marvel. I think they put her in the game as the main thing to try to sell the character to a new audience because it's very obvious what they do with Captain Marvel. I've said it before and I'll say it again. They want her to be the main event. Look at how she's placed in all the character charts and all this stuff. Number one, in the middle, front and center, all this stuff. No. If you're going to go by who's actually the organically most popular Marvel characters, you're going to get Spider-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Wolverine. X-Men characters are going to come before Captain Marvel. the Guardians are more popular than Captain Marvel thanks to the movie, but still, if you go back to an era where Carol Danvers existed, but the MCU wasn't the way it is now, it was just in the Iron Man days. Iron Man was the only film. Still, Carol Danvers would nowhere. She didn't exist back then, but Carol Danvers did, and she wasn't around, in terms of popularity like that. What if A Nightmare on Elm Street went woke? I don't know. Here's the thing, though, too. All this talk of feminism and horror movies has kind of been there, but I don't know how to explain it to properly. Freddy Krueger is a terrible person, but the final survivors usually tend to be women that beat him, and it's not really a problem. It's just kind of a horror movie trope that has always kind of been there that we expect and accept. I don't know how A Nightmare on Elm Street could go woke, because Freddy Krueger is always like, hey, bitch, blah, 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 and he eats them and kills them and does terrible things. I mean, you're saying, when does Freddy Krueger eat anybody? Nightmare on Elm Street 3, he turns into that giant worm and tries to eat Patricia Arquette. Is that the Arquette? I think. Yeah, the good one. Not David. So, yeah, I don't know if they could go woke with A Nightmare on Elm Street. I guess they could... I don't know. I think the only thing they could do to make these movies woke is if they had a non-binary type of character or some phrase that a lot of people don't know what it means yet, character, and then they survive just because. If they do that, then I could see that'd be their element of going woke. But if they're treated like everyone else and they get slaughtered in the meantime, well, then you know what? That's true equality. Everyone was treated the same and they all died. They all got red blood. So I think we're all caught up. We're caught up on all the super chats. We're caught up on all the messages. People are talking about pizza. Please stop. I still have to wait an hour till my Pizza Hut is open. So I think this is a good place to close out the show. So, folks, thank you for joining me again for Good Morning Pop Culture. It's been a lot of fun. Let's get those likes and thumbs up. So, 346 of you. Let's get 348. 2 for me now because, I'm greedy. But no, I appreciate everything you guys have been doing for the channel. I really, really am thankful to be able to do this full time, to pump out the content. So you guys got your Twilight Zone Roundtable on Patreon. You'll get your commentaries this week. Tonight, the High Council's on Ethan's channel. I have no clue what we're going to be talking about. And I'm working on our bigger Star Wars video. So give me some time. Please have the patience. And it'll come out. It'll be as amazing as you guys want it to be. Trust me, we just got to get those views up because I put in the same amount of time and effort to all of our videos. So one last time, folks, please check out T. Alan Diaz's The Lunatic City series on Amazon. Take a walk on the dark side of the moon with the first installment of this gritty sci-fi noir for just 99 cents. And I'm going to post the link again in the chat for you guys to check out. We always talk about supporting independent art and stuff like this, and you guys can get yourself a copy right now. It's on Kindle. You can get paperback. It's a good looking book. It's got a nice cover. And let me read you the description. Working on his police beat, on the moon can be murder. Tycho City detective Frank Parker is having a bad day. His partner is dead. His wife is suing him for divorce, and his vigilante antics are about to cost him his job. When he is forced to take a private investigation job for a man with dubious motives, he has to walk a delicate line between serving the interest of his new employer and remaining true to his complex but immutable police values. His complex but immutable police values, excuse me. Can he protect his family from the relentless pursuit of the notorious lunatic street gang? If not, how will he ever live with himself? Dark and edgy tale. This dark and edgy tale is set on the mean streets of the moon. So I'm going to show you guys the screen right there. So while you guys are waiting for Stealing Solo, it'll give you something to read and have a little bit of fun with. And while you're checking that out, remember, folks, Stealing Solo is in its final days. We're in the final 12 days of Stealing Solo Captain's Parody. And once it's gone, well, goodbye, Captain Solo. But we'll be talking about that more as the days count down. We've been trying to talk about it more. I'm trying to find a time to get some of the other comic skaters on a stream or to appear on another Ethan stream. It's just been weird. The timing's been off. And oh my God, I'm looking at this pizza right now. Delicious. So yeah, if you're out there waiting to eat, if you're on the West Coast, it's only 7 a.m. You're like, man, pizza's not open yet. And if you're over here in Eastern Standard Time and you're like 2 hours from lunch and you're thinking, man, pizza time. So Turbo Donk, this pizza will be eaten in honor of you. I don't know if I want stuffed crust or pan crust or, oh my God, I can't get into that. Let's see. Jeff, when it's released, will you do a late night read of the comics? Ask Minority Report. I will not. For the almost 900 people that have backed the book, I don't want any spoilers out there for anyone. And for the people, I'll never read the whole thing publicly or even show any of it with words. I may show some more artwork down the road, but for the people that have backed it, it's more of it's a special thank you type of thing for them who have, you want to read the book, I backed it, I helped the channel grow type of thing. So that'll be how it rolls. I'm never going to spoil the big twist ending or any of that stuff on the internet. Hopefully the people that have backed it do the same and treat the story with the respect, and they don't ruin it for anybody. I know superfan Adam Shawhan has a lending library full of these things coming his way, but he's one of those guys that'll make you sign a waiver. You can't read this outside of here, and once you do, once you read this, you can't tell anybody about it on the internet. So the world needs more superfan Adam Shawhans out there. But all joking aside, folks, thank you for everything. We'll do some horror reading. We were going to do a spooky, scary midnight story on Saturday or Friday night, but I got tired. I took my mom out, and it was just a long day, so I didn't have the energy in me to go, ooh, spooky. But Kendo has a series of books. We're going to be reading those. We're going to be doing some fun stuff all month long. We're only 9 days into October, and we've had a good amount of content. So come back tomorrow for Good Morning Pop Culture. We'll see where the world of entertainment is tomorrow. Hopefully it's in a better place. Yesterday I said I hoped today would be in a worse place to make fun of it, but you can have just as much fun talking about the good times as the bad. So folks, catch me tonight on the High Council, Ethan Van Sciver's Comic Artist Pro Secret channel, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you need me, well, you know how to find me. So bye for now, and I'll catch you guys next time.